Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. Marvel Friendship System, Deadpool is my best friend. Chapter 61. The two of them were beaten by Chen Yi's men before they even saw Chen yet. Even this man was blind. Pierce's voice was deep and powerful, revealing a kind of aura of majesty without anger. His face was ashen, his eyes were cold, and he looked directly at the document, as if he wanted to see the truth between the lines. Crossbones, who was standing opposite his desk, bowed his head and replied, "That's true. We underestimated the strength of Chen Ye and his gang. To be honest, if that blind man didn't use his superpowers, he couldn't beat me." There was a hint of helplessness and confusion in his voice. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with this failure. Pierce didn't look at Crossbones, but asked the secretary beside him, "Haven't you found out the power behind Chen Ye yet? What kind of power can have so many mutants, and even mecha warriors that can transform?" The secretary beside him bowed his head and said, "Minister, the hand, which was originally going to join us, was completely destroyed by Chen Ye. At present, neither our own channels nor the channels in S.H.I.E.L.D. have found out the power behind Chen Ye." Pierce closed his eyes and thought. The hand was just an insignificant force to Hydra. Pierce didn't feel distressed. After a while, he opened his eyes and slowly said, "Are you sure you can win over Chen Ye?" Obviously, Pierce was very interested in the strength shown by Chen Ye. Whether it was his mysterious superpowers or his cross-air mecha, they could not be ignored. The secretary recalled the information about Chen Ye in her hand, and combined with his style, she slowly said, "Minister, from the information, Chen Ye does not seem to be willing to be inferior to others. But the information shows that he has had conflicts with Nick Fury's people, and it is estimated that they can cooperate. And with his current identity, he is backed by a mysterious organization, and it is estimated that it will cost a lot to win him over." Crossbones Ye on the side took over the topic, "I don't think Chen Yi's men have killed us. It is obvious that he still has some respect for the federal government. I think there is a chance to win him over." Pierce's eyes flashed with a deep light, and he was obviously having an inner debate. He flipped through Chen Yi's information, and his voice revealed a firmness, "Chen Ye, the Lord of Hell. Then, the responsibility he has to bear is also quite heavy. Find a time to send someone to talk to Chen Ye. Just you, Crossbones. As for the bargaining chip, I think their Hell's Kitchen hospital should be renovated, we will help him renovate it. And the government promised to help him recruit professors and doctors. And we'll give some federal subsidies. See if he is willing to cooperate with us." For Pierce, negotiating with someone like Chen Ye is not a big deal. After all, if Chen Ye wants to do a good job in Hell's Kitchen, he can't do without the support of the federal high level. And Hydra's resources in this regard are undoubtedly quite rich. On the contrary, if Chen Ye has no scruples and no worries, that would be a real headache. That kind of person, barefoot, is not afraid of those wearing shoes, and can do anything. Of course, we have to be prepared and notify the people at the base to release the Winter Soldier. If Chen Ye doesn't accept it, let the Winter Soldier kill Chen Ye. Pierce still made preparations for both situations. After hearing this, Crossbones couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Winter Soldier's ability may not be enough to fight Chen Ye. In his opinion, Winter Soldier might have been easily subdued or even killed by Chen Yi's men before he even approached Chen Ye. Pierce smiled mysteriously, with a sly look in his eyes, "What we want is for Chen Ye to kill Winter Soldier. Don't forget who the Winter Soldier's friend is. I remember Nick Fury seems to be working on some Superboy plan." Pierce stopped there. After hearing this, Crossbones suddenly realized that what Pierce wanted was for Chen Ye to kill Winter Soldier. Then pass the news of Winter Soldier's death to Captain America, so that a conflict between Captain America and Chen Ye can be triggered. Once Captain America learns that Winter Soldier has suffered misfortune at the hands of Chen Ye, he will definitely settle accounts with Chen Ye. In this way, Nick Fury behind Captain America could not sit idly by and start a superhero war. No matter who wins or loses in the end, Hydra will be the winner. And Hydra only lost the Winter Soldier as a chess piece. Then Crossbones gave Pierce a thumbs up and said, "Smart, really smart, you are the minister." Pierce laughed when he heard such praise. His ambition and confidence were evident. He knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. would be his sooner or later. On the other side, Chen Ye, who was being plotted, was still driving his broken car with Miles to Tony's villa. When Chen Ye arrived at Tony's villa, it was already night. "Finally we're here, this damn broken car, it actually stalled halfway, and we have to find someone to repair it." Chen Ye complained. It took them 10 hours to get to the vicinity of Tony's manor. Just as Chen Ye drove to the gate of the manor, a Maybach just came out of Tony's manor. Chen Ye looked at the people in the car carefully and muttered to himself, I seem to have seen this bald guy somewhere before. Forget it, let's go find Tony. The person in the Maybach was Tony's uncle Obadiah Stanny, and Obadiah also saw Chen Ye's broken car. He raised his mouth slightly and showed a sneer. Now any broken car can come here, it's really cheap. But there is no need to come to this place again in the future. Obadiah felt much more comfortable when he thought of this. Chen Ye didn't care too much, and then drove in the manor for a full 10 minutes before reaching the villa area. After Chen Ye parked the car, the two finally got out of the car. Miles complained, Mr. Chen Ye, why don't we just use our abilities to get here? Why do we have to drive this car? People with superpowers like us should keep a low profile. Only in this way can we integrate into this society. Don't rely too much on your abilities. Chen Ye said awkwardly, and then made up his mind to change the car quickly. After all, Miles had just met Chen Ye. Although he was puzzled, he could only nod in agreement. After all, Chen Ye was someone he knew in this parallel universe. Afterwards, Chen Ye walked quickly to the gate of the villa. He gently knocked on the gate and shouted loudly, Tony, Tony. I'm Chen Ye, I'm here to see you. His voice echoed in the night sky, but no one responded. Time passed by minute, and 5 minutes passed, but the gate was still closed, and no one came to open it. Miles was watching from the side. He frowned and said to Chen Ye, maybe Mr. Tony is not at home? Why don't you call and ask? Chen Ye stared at the villa intently. He found that the lights in the villa were on, which meant that there must be someone inside. He took out his mobile phone and called Tony, but the line was always busy. Chen Ye's heart began to sink. He recalled the bald man he had just seen on the road, and an ominous premonition came to his mind. He slammed the door hard and shouted loudly, Tony, open the door. I'm Chen Ye. But still no one responded. Chen Ye instantly realized that something had happened to Tony. He felt more and more uneasy, so he took a deep breath and kicked the door hard. Seeing this, Miles wanted to step forward to stop him. He felt that this behavior was not appropriate, but it was too late. The door was kicked open by Chen Ye, and the door of the room was staggering open. Chen Ye rushed into the villa, and the scene in front of him stunned him instantly. Tony's face turned pale, and the small reactor on his chest was gone. Chapter 62. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Looking at Tony who had fallen to the ground, Chen Ye quickly took out the senzu beans and stuffed them into Tony's mouth. Miles watched from the side, with a panicked look on his face. He looked at Tony at a loss, and couldn't help but wonder whether he should call the police. Sir, should we call the police? Miles' voice trembled a little, and he was obviously frightened by the situation. Chen Ye didn't answer him, his eyes were fixed on Tony. The next second, Tony, who had eaten the senzu beans, suddenly moved his body, his face suddenly improved, and the hole in his chest was also restored by the senzu beans. Seeing this situation, Chen Ye was still worried that if he recovered without the small arc, this Tony in front of him could still become Iron Man. Tony, who had just recovered, shouted, Pepper, where's Pepper? Tony didn't care about his physical condition or why Chen Ye came in. He only cared about whether Pepper was in danger. He was afraid that his uncle would kill Pepper. Chen Ye knew what was going on and quickly called Pepper. After a few seconds, Pepper's phone was connected. Ms. Pepper, hello, I'm Chen Ye. Tony snatched the phone away from Chen Ye before he finished speaking. Pepper, are you okay? Tony asked directly. Pepper on the other end of the phone heard Tony's voice and said excitedly, Tony, are you okay? I'm fine. I'm on my way to arrest Obadiah with the agents. I found evidence of him framing you in his computer this morning. Tony learned that Pepper was going to catch Obadiah on the other end of the phone, and said excitedly, Don't go, you are not his opponent, go back quickly. Tony knew that Obadiah had completed his war mecha at this time, and ordinary people were no match for him. But we are already downstairs. Pepper said a little confused. After all, in her opinion, Obadiah is just an ordinary person, and the presence of federal agents is enough to ensure her safety. Anyway, listen to me, leave quickly, I'll go to you right now. Tony hung up the phone and stood up and rushed out. Tony now just wants to rush to Pepper's side to ensure her safety. Only Chen Ye and Miles were left looking at each other. Miles really had a lot of suffering today, and he didn't know the situation all the time, so he could only follow Chen Ye all the way. Chen Ye had no choice but to follow. He didn't expect that when he came to talk to Tony, Tony happened to be robbed of the small arc reactor by his uncle to make his iron lump. If Chen Ye guessed correctly, it should be Iron Man versus Iron Lump in a while. I say, are you so ignoring your savior? Chen Ye complained in the car. But Chen Ye also understood that Tony was eager to save his wife at this time. Sorry, I'm in a hurry to find Pepper now. Tony said perfunctorily while driving fast. He drove the car with full concentration and sped along the road. His heart was full of worry and tension. He couldn't let Pepper take risks. He had to get to her as soon as possible. I know, marry Pepper earlier. Really, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have come today, and I wasted a fairy bean. Chen Ye said helplessly. Miles, who had been in the back seat, was speechless. He had basically stayed in the car all day today. The point was that she really had something urgent to do, so he could only wait until the matter was over before talking about her. Seemingly seeing Miles' helplessness in the back seat, Chen Ye hurriedly comforted him, "It's okay, I'll tell Tony after I finish this matter." Tony seemed to see that the two of them obviously had something to ask him, but he couldn't take care of it now, and just wanted to get to Pepper quickly. "Why did you drive over there? Wouldn't it be faster if you didn't put on a mech and flew over there?" Chen Ye asked curiously. This is different from the plot he remembered. Didn't Tony fly over wearing Iron Man at this time? You think I don't want to? You think I didn't pay attention to the wound on my chest? How can I use the small arc reactor? I have to make another one. Tony said helplessly. Tony also wanted to get his mech at this time, but now the wound on his chest has been healed. He can only wait until the matter is over and go back to upgrade the mech. And when this is over, I must ask Chen Ye what magical thing he used. Since it can make him heal, this guy Chen Ye can always come up with something shocking. Then you don't. How can you beat your uncle with a mecha? Chen Ye frowned and continued to ask. Tony didn't say anything and looked at Chen Ye. Chen Ye was panicked and shouted, "Don't look at me, just drive carefully ahead." Chen Ye understood Tony's idea instantly. "So I work for you for free, not only saving your life, but also solving your problems. Do you know how expensive the senzu beans I fed you are? There are only 4 in the world and you ate 1. I owe you a favor." Tony said solemnly. Chen Ye didn't say anything after listening. After all, Chen Ye also needed Tony's help. In the deepest part of the laboratory on the other side, Obadiah was carrying the small arc reactor snatched from Tony, with a glimmer of ambition in his eyes. He slowly walked towards his war machine and carefully installed this precious small arc reactor in the core part of the war machine. At the same time, Pepper and a team of agents also rushed to Obadiah's laboratory building. Originally, Pepper wanted to listen to Tony's advice and wait for his arrival before taking action. But those anxious agents couldn't wait, they went straight to the laboratory. The agents used small explosives to blow open the security door of the laboratory, and the huge explosion startled Obadiah in the laboratory. He peeked through the crack in the door and found someone breaking in, and immediately began to put on his mecha equipment. This conflict seemed inevitable. Obadiah started his war machine, and the roar of the machine's engine echoed in the empty laboratory. He watched the intruder through the screen of the mecha, his eyes full of coldness and determination. Pepper and the agents walked into the laboratory carefully, and then saw a pile of experimental drawings and the mecha that had disappeared. He may have left. Pepper whispered. Pepper finally understood Tony's reminder now, and could only secretly beg that Obadiah had left. The agents searched every corner of the laboratory with weapons in hand, trying to find clues left by Obadiah. They looked nervous, and the weapons in their hands seemed to be their only support. The air in the laboratory was filled with an invisible sense of oppression, as if danger would come at any time. Suddenly, a huge figure fell from the sky and landed near Pepper. Pepper widened her eyes in horror, and only had time to scream, then turned around and ran away in high heels. Her heart was beating like a drum, and every step was trembling. The battle in the laboratory broke out immediately. The agents' bullets and explosives left scars on the machine, but Obadiah's war machine was unscathed, as if those attacks had no effect on it at all. Under the iron fist of the mecha, the agents fell one by one, and blood and broken limbs were scattered all over the ground. Only Pepper escaped outside the building. Just when Pepper thought she was safe and was about to call Tony, a mecha broke out of the ground behind Pepper. Pepper turned around and saw the mecha, screaming in fear and retreating. Obadiah controlled the mecha and raised his right hand to Pepper and said coldly, "You are useless." Pepper's heart sank instantly, and she realized that she had nowhere to escape. Facing the war machine controlled by Obadiah, she felt like a tiny ant that could be crushed at any time. At this moment, she regretted not listening to Tony's advice, and she didn't know if Tony would be sad for her if she died. At this moment of despair, a voice came from the sky, "Stan." Obadiah looked up and saw that it was Chen Ye who used magnetism to drag Tony and his car into the sky. Chapter 63. The two of them were so busy that they had to wait for the car to arrive. Chen Ye first parked the car steadily on the ground, and then turned his attention to the huge Obadiah mecha. Then he controlled Obadiah's mecha with one hand. As soon as Tony got out of the car, he immediately rushed to Pepper. His eyes were full of worry, and he hugged Pepper, as if he wanted to protect her tightly under his wings. Tony was terrified. If he was a step later, Pepper would die. Tony couldn't imagine what his life would be like without Pepper. Pepper also hugged him back tightly, as if she had grabbed a life-saving straw. There was still a trace of panic in her eyes, and she couldn't believe that she was safe. If she hadn't felt Tony's body temperature and heartbeat, she wouldn't have believed that all this was true. "Hey, hey, hey, why don't you just get married right here? Why are you still showing off your affection in this situation?" Chen Ye walked over, with a hint of teasing in his eyes, but more of a focus on the mecha in front of him. "Should I solve this, or do you solve it yourself?" Chen Ye asked Tony while looking at the big mecha. Tony also temporarily let go of his love affair, and then questioned Obadiah with anger in his eyes. "Why do you want to do this? I can't believe you would do this to me." Obadiah said coldly in the mecha, "I've had enough of you. Why should this company be mine? It's all your fault, my damn mutant friend. Otherwise, I would have succeeded long ago. Since you can't let me get what I want, let's die together." Obadiah shouted at the top of his lungs, activating the mecha's self-destruct device. He intended to die with the group of people who were destroying his plan. Seeing this, Chen Ye immediately lifted the mecha with magnetic force and let it float in the air. He stared at the mecha that was gradually turning red, knowing that it was about to self-destruct. So, he pushed the magnetic tray hard and led the mecha into the air. Just then, a deafening explosion broke through the night sky. Flames shot up to the sky and heat waves rolled. The entire city was shrouded in the aftermath of the explosion. Residents ran out of their homes and looked up at the gorgeous fireball in the sky. After Chen Ye solved it, he also landed gracefully. After the explosion subsided, Chen Ye landed gracefully. He looked at the gradually dissipating smoke and said lightly, "In fact, without me, your plan would not succeed." Obviously, this was said to Obadiah who could no longer hear. Miles, who stayed where he was, watched Chen Ye fly freely in the sky, solving the mecha crisis with an extremely elegant posture, and his heart was full of envy. He has always longed to have such superb abilities and solve problems so elegantly. He silently vowed that he must learn from Chen Ye in the future, constantly improve his abilities, and become a person as outstanding as him. At the same time, Tony looked at the exploding mecha in the sky, and his heart was mixed. Although there were some contradictions between him and Obadiah, they were partners after all. Now that Obadiah has passed away, he can't help but feel a lot of emotions. "Okay, we should go back too. I have something else to ask you." Chen Ye saw that the matter was resolved, and it was time to talk about business. Tony first stepped forward to Chen Ye, "Thanks, buddy. Thanks to you today. By the way, can you give me another pill of your magical medicine? I'll go back and study it." Obviously, Tony was very interested in Chen Ye's magic beans. "Let's talk business first, Tony. I guess you are more interested in this story." Chen Ye pulled Miles, who was in a daze, over. Tony looked Miles up and down, but he couldn't see any outstanding features of Miles in front of him. Tony frowned and said, "Then let's talk in the car." "We can't talk here. I have to send Pepper back first." Just as the four were about to get in the car, the federal government's support arrived, led by Tony's good friend Rhodes. Rhodes walked quickly to Tony, grabbed Tony's shoulders, and looked him up and down. Rhodes walked quickly to Tony, grabbed Tony's shoulders, and looked him up and down. "It seems that you are fine. I was worried all the way." Ever since receiving Pepper's call for help, Rhodes has been concerned about Tony's safety. He rushed to Tony's house but found that he was not there, so he tracked him all the way here. Seeing that Tony was safe, he finally let go of his worries. However, you still have to hold a press conference tomorrow. This explosion caused. The residents have paid much attention to this event. Rhodes then reminded Tony. Tony could not help but frown at this news. He always hated this kind of press conference, not to mention explaining the cause of this incident. But Rhodes was right, this was his responsibility and obligation. Pepper on the side also obviously saw the irritability in Tony's heart, and quickly restored his secretary's nature. No problem, I will ask the people below to prepare for tomorrow's press conference, and Tony will be there on time tomorrow. Pepper said quickly. Tony looked at her, and his irritability was slightly relieved. He knew that with Pepper there, everything would be arranged in an orderly manner. If there is nothing else, we will go back first. Tony looked at Chenya and then said to Rhodes. Then Rhodes and Chenya looked at each other, nodded and said hello, and then stayed with the agents to clean up the mess. Along the way, Chenya asked Miles to tell Tony the story of his travel through the parallel universe. Pepper next to him was almost unbelievable, after all, it was too unbelievable for ordinary people. On the other hand, Tony listened with relish, his eyes revealing the light of wisdom. So this kid traveled to the parallel time and space because of the time and space cracks created by the collider. I really want to have a good talk with the doctor who created the collider. It's a genius idea. Tony praised. So do you have a way to get this little guy back? Chenya asked. I can't guarantee this. I have to go back and study it. If there is information about the collider, maybe I can make one for you. Tony looked at Miles and replied. As long as he is given some time, he believes he can create it. But if there are no relevant drawings, it will take some time. However, Tony believes that with his genius wisdom, others can create it, and he can also create it. Miles on the side heard it and could only answer helplessly, I don't have the drawings. He was fighting Kingpin at the time, how could he have thought that he was transported to this parallel universe? Chenya saw that Miles was in a low mood and comforted him quickly. It's okay, this Tony is one of the smartest people I know, give him some time and he will find a way to send you back. Miles looked up at Chenya, a trace of gratitude flashed in his eyes, but he did not speak, just nodded silently. Hearing Chenyi's praise for himself, Tony smiled and nodded. Don't worry, you will hear good news soon. Tony said confidently. When Miles heard Tony's words, a warm current surged in his heart. He felt that he was not alone in this strange universe, because he had friends like Chenya and Tony around him. Finally, Chenya sent Pepper and Tony back to the villa. Before leaving, Chenya took out a blueprint and threw it to Tony, which showed the latest elements. Tony took a quick look and looked at Chenya in astonishment. He didn't expect Chenya to have this thing. The things on the blueprint were not even researched by himself at present. Chenya smiled and said, Don't look at me like that. This thing was invented by your father. Don't ask me, I won't tell you. Then Chenya drove his broken car back with Miles without looking back. Tony looked at Chenyi's back, hesitant to speak, wanted to say thank you but couldn't say it, after all, Tony had his own self-esteem. But Chenya did help him a lot today, and finally he could only say in a low voice, thank you. Finally, he turned around and returned to his villa. What he didn't know was that Chenyi's mouth curled up slightly behind him. The system prompts began to prompt. Congratulations to the host, Tony Stark. Congratulations to the host, Tony Stark's favorability has reached full stars. Chapter 64. The next morning, Pepper arrived at the press conference. She quickly set up the scene, busy while greeting the reporters who came one after another. The time of the press conference was about to arrive, but Tony did not show up. Rhodes on the side also noticed this situation. He came over and asked in his low voice, Why hasn't Tony arrived yet? Do you want to call him to urge him? Pepper frowned. She had called Tony several times, but the other party didn't answer. She tried to stay calm and said to Rhodes, Don't worry, Tony will definitely come if he agrees. I have called several times, but Tony has not answered. Don't worry, Tony will definitely come if he agrees. Pepper said with a frown. However, she herself was unsure. After all, Tony often missed press conferences without reason. Will he let everyone down again this time? If Tony doesn't come, how will the press conference proceed? These questions kept echoing in Pepper's mind. Time passed by minute, and the atmosphere at the press conference became more and more tense. Many reporters were in place, and they were all waiting for the arrival of the protagonist Tony. The lenses of cameras and video cameras were all aimed at the entrance, and the press conference could start as soon as Tony appeared. However, as time went by, Tony still did not appear. The reporters at the scene began to whisper, talking to each other, and guessing various possibilities. There was confusion and disappointment in their eyes, because they were all looking forward to Tony's appearance. Pepper felt her heartbeat quicken. She had never felt such great pressure before. She knew that she had to find a way to solve this problem. Just when Pepper was about to go on stage to host the press conference in person, there was a sudden roar of machinery in the sky, and everyone looked up. A red mecha fell from the sky and landed on the main seat of the press conference. The appearance of this Iron Man surprised and excited the reporters on the scene. They picked up the microphone and rushed to Iron Man. A reporter asked, "Excuse me, are you the Iron Man who came recently?" Iron Man did not answer, but just stood there quietly. He was wearing a red mecha, and the reactor on his chest was shining, which looked very cool. His appearance made the atmosphere on the scene boil up all of a sudden. "Excuse me, Iron Man, what is your relationship with Stark Industries?" "Excuse me, do you know Mr. Tony Stark? Are you here to attend the press conference on behalf of Mr. Tony Stark?" Pepper in the audience clearly recognized this Iron Man and was relieved. She knew that this was Tony's masterpiece. He did not forget about the press conference, but appeared in front of everyone in an unexpected way. Rhodes, on the other hand, walked to the front of the stage very nervously. "Everyone, please be quiet," he shouted loudly, with unquestionable authority in his voice, "we will give you an explanation later." Then he wanted to pull Tony away, but Tony was wearing an iron suit, and Rhodes found embarrassed that he could not pull Tony. It seemed that Tony did not want to talk to him. Rhodes, who was standing by, could only cover Tony's ears and whisper, "Don't reveal your identity as Iron Man. If you reveal your identity as Iron Man, the military and the federal leaders will come to you for trouble." It is obvious that Rhodes is thinking about Tony. Once Iron Man reveals his identity, the military and the federal leaders will definitely ask Tony to hand over the mecha blueprints. It is okay if the federal government does not know Tony's true identity. If they know, they will try their best to take him for themselves. But before Rhodes heard Tony's reply, the reporter below obviously couldn't hold back his heart and continued to ask. After a while, Tony's helmet automatically faded, revealing the face known to the world. There was a hint of unruly smile on his face, and the light of wisdom flashed in his eyes. At this moment, he was not only a billionaire and philanthropist, but also the superhero admired by countless people, Iron Man. He looked down at the reporters below, with a hint of teasing and confidence in his eyes. Then, he raised his lips slightly, and said in his unique, slightly arrogant tone the famous words that everyone in the Marvel Universe knows, "I am Iron Man." Iron Man. As soon as these words came out, there was silence at the scene. Then, as if they were electrocuted, the reporters began to write furiously to record this historic moment. They knew that once this headline was released, it would surely cause a global sensation. After Tony finished his famous words, he put on his helmet again. The familiar red and gold armor covered his body again, as if he was born for this armor. He straightened his chest and looked forward firmly. With a roar, Tony turned into a golden light and broke through the clouds. Only Pepper, who looked confused, and Rhodes, who was terrified, were left alone to face the questions of reporters. Watching the man in armor falling from the sky in the news report, facing the camera, and then saying the classic saying, "I am Iron Man." Chen Ye smiled. Only Tony, the arrogant and coquettish guy, could make such an appearance. It can only be said that he is worthy of being Tony Stark. He knew that the gears of fate began to turn, and a big event in the Marvel Universe was about to happen. He also had to seize the time to make friends and expand his power and strength. Chen Ye had an idea in his mind, that is, to form a team that could rival the Avengers, a superhero team unique to Hell's Kitchen. Deadpool on the side watched Tony's handsome appearance on the news and imitated him. He took off his red mask, then posed in a posture that he thought was handsome and said in a low voice, "I am Deadpool. How about it, am I handsome?" Deadpool asked Pietro and Wanda. Pietro looked at him with disgust. Wanda simply ignored him and ignored Deadpool. Chen Ye looked at this scene and couldn't help but feel funny. In the void, a bald wizard was confronting a magenta knight. "Outsider, this is not the place you should come to," Ancient One said calmly. The magenta knight whispered, the strength of this universe is a bit high. Next time, I'll call the old man Feng Mo over. The Magenta Knight obviously felt that there were many auras in this universe that were stronger than the bald wizard in front of him, so he should call someone over next time. Then the Magenta Knight summoned a silver space wall with his right hand and walked straight into it, disappearing in this universe. After watching the strange pink knight leave, Master Ancient One said, "There are a lot of outsiders on Earth recently, so I still have to go and take a look." Chapter 65. The old man was very happy, and the old man was very happy. Hell's Kitchen, Good Luck Restaurant. Next, everything will be handed over to Wanda. Wanda's orders are equal to my orders. Chen Ye glanced at the crowd and said seriously, "Dismiss." Chen Ye issued instructions to a group of fierce people. They looked like gangsters, and each of them had a fierce look on their faces. These were Uncle Jinbing's men. Uncle Jinbing's men left the restaurant one after another, leaving Wanda standing there alone. Chen Ye walked up to Wanda and said to her gently, "Wanda, your task now is to take over Uncle Jinbing's affairs. Don't be too stressed. You know, this is a brand new challenge for you, but I believe you are capable of it. Try to abandon all illegal affairs, so that we can get the company on the right track and not violate our original intention. Then don't have too much pressure. Our family doesn't lack this little money." Chen Ye added. "I have no problem." Wanda answered with a firm look in her eyes, and then turned and left for Fisk Building. Wanda silently encouraged herself in her heart. She had to work hard to manage it well, firstly to live up to Chen Yi's trust, and secondly to be Chen Yi's best backing, so that she could stay by Chen Yi's side. "Thank you for your hard work," Chen Ye looked at Wanda distressedly. After all, Wanda is just a 20-year-old girl, and she has to take over such a big company at this age. But there is really no one around Chen Ye, either a 60-year-old killer, or someone like Deadpool. The only good Winston has been sent to manage the Continental Hotel. Chen Ye really couldn't imagine what would happen if Deadpool was allowed to manage the company. He would probably use all the company's liquid funds to pick up girls. Just as Chen Ye was thinking, a golden halo suddenly appeared in the restaurant. The halo was rotating and had strange runes. Chen Ye saw the golden halo and had a guess in his mind. The next second, Chen Ye found that the space around the restaurant there was a change, just like glass breaking, but not long after, everything returned to normal. Chen Ye saw that even the mirror space was used. There was only one person with such a big card, and that was the Ancient One who was killed by the plot because the special effects were too expensive. The figure of the Ancient One slowly walked out of the golden light circle. She was wearing a gorgeous robe, and her bald head was particularly dazzling under the light. At this time, her eyes were calm and deep, as if she saw through everything in the world. "You don't seem surprised at all, as if you knew I would come to you. Mr. Chen Ye." Master Gu Yi said, her voice was calm and steady. Chen Yi's calm and composed attitude made Master Gu Yi puzzled. Could it be that the man in front of him had the ability to predict the future? Or was he absolutely confident in his own strength? Whichever it was, Master Gu Yi became interested. Master Gu Yi had some sense of the future, and she could observe everyone's life trajectory, whether in the past or in the future. But she found that only in Chen Ye, she could not see through his future. But Gu Yi was very sure that the person in front of him was indeed from this universe. "Master Gu Yi, I have heard of your name for a long time." Chen Ye did not continue to pretend that he did not know Master Gu Yi's identity. He took the initiative to speak to show his sincerity. Because he believed that Master Gu Yi had already known who Chen Ye was before he came. "I have been observing you for a long time. Everything you have done recently is different from the future I saw. But you did do better. Hell's Kitchen has a better future because of you." Master Gu Yi praised. "Thank you for the compliment. I wonder what Master Gu Yi came here for today." Chen Ye really didn't know the purpose of Gu Yi's visit. It seemed that Chen Ye didn't do anything to harm the earth. "Today I came to tell you that recently a knight from another universe wanted to come to the earth, and I stopped him in time. You should be careful." Master Gu Yi explained. She saw that the knight looked very similar to the knight that Chen Ye had transformed into some time ago. He should be here to cause trouble for Chen Ye. Secondly, it is to send a guest from another universe to his original universe. That guest is here with you. Master Gu Yi looked at Chen Ye and continued to add. After listening to Master Gu Yi's words, Chen Ye hurriedly asked, "Excuse me, Master Gu Yi. Master, what color is that knight?" Gu Yi thought about it and said slowly, "Pink." After hearing this, Chen Ye had a headache. That night was the destroyer of the world, brother Xiaoming. Fortunately, he was stopped by Gu Yi, otherwise he would not know what would happen if he came in. As for the second point, Chen Ye was not surprised. Chen Ye also wanted to ask Gu Yi for help, but he did not have the ability. Thank you for reminding me, then I will call Miles out now and let you take him back. Chen Ye said slowly. Don't worry, I have something to tell you. Do you know the origin of your guest? Master Gu Yi asked seriously. This time, Chen Yi's guest brought a great impact to the multiverse, and the Spider-Man in each universe has changed to some extent. Chen Ye looked at Gu Yi's serious expression and was thinking seriously about the impact of Miles. Suddenly, an idea flashed. You mean that Miles, who should not have become Spider-Man, is an anomaly, which led to things that should not have happened in other parallel universes. After all, according to Miles' life trajectory, he should have become a wanderer, not Spider-Man. Gu Yi said seriously, yes, there can only be one Spider-Man in a universe, and every Spider-Man will experience the pain of bereavement. This is Spider-Man's fate. And the spider he got the spider possession of did not belong to his universe, but to the spider of Earth 44 universe. Gu Yi explained, Peter Parker in this parallel universe died accidentally because he did not become Spider-Man, which led to the destruction of this parallel universe. There is a problem in our two adjacent Spider-Man universes. I can't leave the Earth for the time being, so I need you to solve it. Ancient One said slowly. Ancient One really can't leave now. There are too many variables now. Ancient One must ensure that the birth of the next Supreme Master is foolproof. So he has to keep an eye on the Earth all the time, because he doesn't have much time left. And finding Chen Ye is because Chen Ye has infinite possibilities. But, the destruction of the other two parallel universes will not affect our universe, right? Why should I go there? Chen Ye asked puzzledly. Chen Ye really doesn't care about the lives of people in other universes, and doesn't want to take on this job. Because it is an adjacent universe, when the universe is destroyed, there will be a crack in time and space, and some people will come to this universe, just like your guests. These people will bring great trouble to our universe. Ancient One explained calmly. Ancient One has another sentence that he didn't say. In the worst case, our universe may be wiped out. If the sky falls, you are still there, Master Ancient One. Besides, I can't travel through parallel universes. Chen Ye really doesn't want to get involved in these things, he just wants to stay quietly in Hell's Kitchen. Looking at Chen Ye who was unmoved, Master Gu Yi was still very calm, as if she had guessed Chen Yi's thoughts. Then she threw a hanging ring to Chen Ye, as a reward, I will teach you how to teleport. Chapter 66. The more you fight, the more you will be rewarded. Chen Ye took the ring and looked at it carefully. He was delighted. He didn't expect that the portal skill was so easy to cheat. I'm not the kind of person who cares about rewards. For the peace of the universe, I have no choice but to do it. Always be prepared to fight for the peace of the universe. Chen Ye said passionately, almost slipping his tongue. This made Master Gu Yi's calm expression show a hint of helplessness. Is it really right to give such an important task to the guy in front of him? But, I remember that the portal can't directly teleport me to the parallel universe. Chen Ye asked seriously. He had no memory of the portal being able to teleport to the parallel universe. Many people thought that Toby Spider-Man and Garfield Spider-Man in the three-worm frame were pulled out by the fat man using the portal, but it wasn't. They were all summoned by the space-time rift. The Ancient One wizard nodded after listening, yes, I didn't say that the portal can teleport you to the parallel universe, but because it is an adjacent universe, I can find the space-time rift and send you there. Ancient One has a way to send Chen Ye there. After all, Ancient One has lived in this world for so long, and basically learned all the magic that should be seen and not seen. There is no magic that she doesn't know, the only difference is whether she wants to use it or not. After listening, Chen Ye suddenly realized that it was really the old ginger that was spicy. He really wanted to become a family with her and get all her magic for free. At this moment, Master Gu Yi suddenly asked, Chen Ye, do you know why there are space-time cracks in this universe? Chen Ye was stunned. He had never thought about this question. Hearing Master Gu Yi mention it, he couldn't help but feel curious. There are countless parallel universes in this universe. They are adjacent to each other, but they do not interfere with each other. However, there are exceptions, such as this time. When there is a variable, a butterfly effect will occur, and space-time cracks will form between these parallel universes, connecting them together. Master Guyi explained. Chen Ye seemed to understand after listening. According to Chen Yi's understanding in his previous life, Marvel simply wanted to make money, but was lazy, so they simply created a whole parallel universe. Okay, Master Guyi. Then I want to ask how to return if I complete the task. Chen Ye still cares more about his own safety. Master Guyi seemed to have guessed that Chen Ye would ask this question a long time ago, and slowly said, I have cast a magic on your hanging ring. You can come back as long as you use it to activate this hanging ring. But it can only be used once. When you go next time, find me and I will add it to your list. Guyi used this method to get Chen Ye to report his progress. Okay, no problem. I will definitely help you. The main thing is that I want to make a friend with Master Guyi. It is normal for friends to help each other. Master Guyi, you should not mind making me your friend. Chen Ye suddenly became sincere. After hearing what Chen Ye said, Master Guyi smiled on his calm face. After so many years, he did not expect that someone would propose to be friends with him. You are very interesting. Master Guyi did not answer directly, but used a more implicit sentence to express his opinion. But Chen Ye had already got the answer from the system prompt. Congratulations to the host successfully added Guyi as a friend. Congratulations to the host, get the attribute, portal. Do you want to merge immediately? Merge immediately. Chen Ye muttered in his heart. Instantly, a wave of knowledge and experience about the portal flooded into Chen Yi's mind like a tide, and Chen Ye felt as if he had mastered the skills of using the portal. Chen Ye instantly felt that he had practiced his portal for 2.5 years. Chen Ye did not expect the system to be so considerate. Chen Ye was still thinking about how long it would take to learn the portal. Now with the help of the system, he can already use the portal skillfully. Just when Chen Ye was communicating with the system, Master Guyi had already removed the mirror space. Now, you can ask the guest from the parallel universe to come down, and I should send him back. Guyi said slowly. After listening to Guyi's words, Chen Ye hurried upstairs to find Miles. After all, this kid didn't know how to go back to his own universe. A few minutes later, Chen Ye walked down the stairs with Miles, who was confused, and walked in front of Guyi. Then he turned to Miles and introduced, "This is Master Guyi who will send you home." Miles nodded to Master Guyi to show respect. "Hello, Master Guyi, my name is Miles." Miles' mood at this time is very complicated. His experience in the strange world these days makes him feel emotional. He once thought that he would never return to his own universe and would never see his parents. However, now Chen Ye suddenly appeared and told him that someone could take him home, which made Miles excited and worried. He was afraid that he would return disappointed again this time, but his heart was full of expectations and excitement. "Child, you are very brave. Don't worry, you will be able to go home soon." Guyi looked at Miles with a kind look. After all, he stopped the cosmic crisis at such a young age. Guyi knew that the child in front of him was a hero who should not exist, and there would be many disasters in the future. "Child, do you know how special you are?" Guyi finally gave a soft-hearted hint. Miles looked at Guyi with a puzzled look, and thought for a moment, "Maybe I am black." Guyi shook his head. "Child, you know, basically there is only one Spider-Man in each universe, and every Spider-Man will basically experience the pain of losing his loved ones, and your parents are still alive now, you know? This is an inevitable result." Chen Ye on the side nodded unconsciously after listening. God knows how many times Uncle Ben has died. It is estimated that the tombs of Uncle Ben in the multiverse can circle the earth. After listening to Guyi's words, Miles thought for a while, "So, my parents will be in danger." Guyi continued to shake his head, "Your parents will be fine, but you have to be careful. Okay, you should go home." Guyi seemed to see Miles' future, but some things are inevitable results as she said. Then, Master Guyi waved gently, and a mysterious force surged from her palm and enveloped Miles. Miles' body began to undergo wonderful changes, and his skin gradually became transparent, as if blending into the surrounding air. Miles felt the changes in his body and waved goodbye to Chen Ye. "Thank you, Chen Ye. If you have a chance, you must come to my universe. I will treat you to a meal." "Thank you, Master Ancient One." As his words fell, Miles' figure gradually disappeared, and finally turned into a beam of light and dissipated into the air. When Miles completely disappeared, Chen Ye curiously asked Master Ancient One, what if Peter Parker didn't become Spider-Man? Chapter 67. After a long time, the two of them were still young. Guyi, who was about to leave, also found Chen Yi's question interesting. I saw that Master Guyi gently closed her eyes, as if she was listening to the melody of time, and the time gem on her neck was slightly glowing purple. Chen Yi guessed that Master Guyi should be observing the future and observing various future possibilities. Chen Yi saw that Guyi seemed unable to wake up for a while. So he walked aside, picked up 2 bottles of ice-cold Happy Fat House water on the table, and drank them up. Just after Chen Yi drank the second bottle of Fat House water, Master Guyi finally opened her eyes. There was a gleam of wisdom in her eyes, as if she had seen through all the possibilities of the future. It seems that Master Guyi has the answer. I wonder if you can tell me. Chen Yi is indeed very curious about what would happen if Peter Parker did not become Spider-Man. Master Guyi glanced at him lightly, with a flash of thought in her eyes. What she saw was Peter Parker in countless timelines. Their life trajectories were different. Some were scientists, some were businessmen, and some even became villains. However, no matter what kind of people they became in which world line, the ending was not good. Some were killed by evil forces, some died in accidents, and some even died alone. Of course, some became superheroes other than Spider-Man. Why don't you take a look yourself? Guyi waved his hand casually. Chen Yi saw that the space around him changed again. Chen Yi seemed to have entered the long river of time, with countless light curtains around him. Maybe you should go and see it yourself. Master Guyi said lightly. She waved her hand lightly, and the space around her began to distort and deform, as if entering a mysterious world. Chen Yi only felt that the space around him seemed to be covered with a layer of mist, blurry, and countless light screens appeared in front of him, as if it was the stage of the universe. Each light screen represents a different universe, and each universe records the life of a man named Peter Parker. He saw the first half of Peter Parker's life, which was no different from other ordinary people. He saw Peter Parker's childhood, his mischief at school, his love story with Mary Jane, and the death of Uncle Ben. But the turning point was that some Peter Parkers were bitten by spiders and became Spider-Man. Some Peters were not bitten by spiders, and then they either died in an accident, and then the entire universe was wiped out. Some Peters became other superheroes through various means. Chen Yi saw Peter in the light screen, some became a member of the new Fantastic Four, some became the Human Torch, some became the Hulk, and the most outrageous was the Captain America. Some Peter Parkers became villains, some became the Green Goblin, some became the Plague of the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse, and some became the Lizard Man. However, Chen Yi discovered an amazing fact. No matter which superhero Peter Parker became, no matter how amazing and wonderful his life was, the universe he existed in could not escape the fate of destruction. It seems that there is only one right way, that is to become Spider-Man and take the responsibility of fighting against evil. After reading the information given to him by Master Guyi, Chen Yi closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. He began to think about whether he was just a character in someone else's script like Peter Parker. Master Guyi had been observing Chen Yi's reaction, and seeing his nervous look, he couldn't help but nod secretly in his heart. She took so much effort to show Chen Yi these things just to warn Chen Yi not to change other people's lives. Especially her future disciple, Chen Yi's college classmate Stephen Strange. Master Guyi could not let Chen Yi interfere with Stephen Strange's life trajectory in any way. That's why they went to such great lengths to throw Chen Yi into other universes. It is estimated that when Chen Yi completes the task, Strange should be in Camartage if nothing unexpected happens. At this time, Chen Yi opened his eyes, looked at the Ancient One, and suddenly smiled. "Thank you, I understand." Chen Yi has understood the good intentions of the Ancient One. In fact, he is not an exception. The Ancient One means that I must work hard to change the tragedy of the people around me. What Chen Yi can do is to change the tragedy of his friends around him, and Strange happens to be Chen Yi's college roommate. Although Strange has a bad temper and is a little arrogant. But after all, they have been together for so long. In the future, if Strange has any problems, Chen Yi will probably help. After all, if Strange's girlfriend dies, the universe will be destroyed by him. If Master Guyi knew that Chen Yi misunderstood his meaning, he would probably regret coming to see Chen Yi today. Then a golden halo slowly emerged behind Master Guyi, and the halo was rotating. Behind the halo was Camartage. Master Guyi said to Chen Yi, "Let's go, follow me to learn about the portal." But Chen Yi did not intend to follow Master Guyi to leave. Gu Yi asked in confusion, don't you want to learn about the portal? Chen Ye smiled slightly, put on the ring on his right hand, and then drew a circle in the air. A golden halo also appeared in the air instantly, and the halo showed Camartage. Master Ancient One, I have learned it. There are still things I need to deal with here. When I finish, I will visit you in person and then go to other parallel universes. Chen Ye replied calmly. Ancient One's calm eyes suddenly widened, and it was obvious that he was shocked by Chen Yi's move. Did you learn it just by watching it once? Or have you already learned it? Ancient One had originally prepared that Chen Ye would need to learn for several months before he could learn the portal. After all, the portal is not an ordinary magic. Even a genius student like the one in Camartage would need at least a month to learn it. Ancient One couldn't help but wonder if the self in other parallel universes had taught Chen Ye. Chen Yi's performance in front of him was really too shocking. How about you come to Camartage to practice for a while? I will give you the Supreme Sorcerer. Ancient One said. Ancient One had reason to believe that as long as Chen Ye was given some time, Chen Yi's speed would have reason to become the strongest Supreme Sorcerer in history. As for who Strange was, Ancient One said that he was not familiar with him. Chen Ye refused and said, this kind of good thing should be left to Strange. Chen Ye knew how much he was capable of. If he didn't rely on the system, he didn't know how much time he would have to waste to learn magic. It was estimated that by the time he came out of the mountain, the purple potato spirit would have finished snapping his fingers. Then why bother learning anything? It would be faster to make more friends. Seeing this, Gu Yi didn't try to persuade him to stay. He walked directly into the aperture and returned to Camartage. As for Chen Ye, he needed to explain the matter of Hell's Kitchen, and then go to the Spider-Man parallel universe. Chen Ye was also very curious about which version of Spider-Man he would meet. Chapter 68. At noon, Chen Ye called the whole family to have lunch together, and explained the matter of leaving. Chen Ye was wearing an apron and frying fragrant fried rice in the back kitchen. His technique was extremely skillful and looked very powerful. Deadpool watched Chen Ye frying rice with his eyes wide open, flipping the spoon, flipping the pot, and throwing the pot. The smooth operation made Deadpool completely stunned. Chen Ye, how can I live without you? Can you take me with you? I want to eat the food you cook every day. Deadpool hugged Chen Yi's legs and cried there, thinking about what would happen after Chen Ye left. Deadpool was about to eat the food made by Wanda, and his body couldn't help but tremble. The taste was really worse than asking Deadpool to jump off the building. Chen Ye kicked Deadpool away and said helplessly, get lost, take the dishes out quickly. Don't worry, when I go to other parallel universes, I will definitely bring you along. A few minutes later, the fried rice was served. Chen Ye walked out of the kitchen with the fried rice. The table of dishes looked delicious, which made the whole family hungry. Come on, everyone, eat quickly. Chen Ye called everyone. Everyone picked up their chopsticks and started eating. Why did you call us all here today? Wanda asked first, because she was busy sorting out the property left by Uncle Jinbing yesterday, and Wanda didn't know that Chen Ye was going to a parallel universe. John Wick, Master Ye and Winston also looked at Chen Ye curiously. They didn't know the purpose of calling them here today, but they knew their status very well. Although they were curious, they didn't ask. Now seeing that the lady spoke first, they looked at Chen Ye curiously. Yes, in the eyes of John Wick and other latecomers, Ms. Wanda is their boss lady. Currently, there are only two people who know that Chen Ye is going to a parallel universe, Pietro and Deadpool. Pietro and Deadpool looked at each other, and then Pietro buried his head in eating again, as if he wanted to use food to cover up his guilty conscience. Deadpool was still as calm as ever. He ate the food by himself, looked at Chen Ye from time to time, and said, Chen Ye is going to a parallel universe. Don't forget to take me with you when the time comes. Deadpool added. Everyone was shocked when they heard Deadpool's words. They didn't expect Chen Ye to go to the parallel universe so soon. Yes, I will go to the parallel universe in the next 2 days. As for how long I will be there, I don't know. So I have to explain everything before I leave. Chen Ye nodded, and seeing the obvious reluctance on Wanda's face, he felt a little sorry. Wanda was obviously unhappy. She had just come back and wanted to stay with Chen Ye for a while. Unexpectedly, Chen Ye had to go away again in just a few days. And he was going to another universe. She couldn't help but frowned, and there was a hint of resentment in her eyes when she looked at Chen Ye. I want to go too. Wanda hesitated for a while, but still mustered up the courage to say to Chen Yat. Wanda just wanted to spend more time with Chen Yat, and her strength could also help Chen Yat. After all, the parallel universe is not her territory, and one more person means one more person to take care of. However, Wanda's words made Chen Yat stunned. He didn't expect Wanda to follow him to the parallel universe. This surprised Chen Yat a little. After all, the parallel universe is not their universe, and he is not very clear about what unknown dangers exist. If something unexpected happens, it will be bad to take Wanda into the parallel universe. Chen Yat looked at Wanda's stubborn eyes and tried to calm the dispute with comforting words. He said, "You still have to stay and deal with Uncle Jinbing's affairs for me. I will be back soon, don't worry." Other people at the table were obviously avoiding the fight between the boss and the boss's wife. They all lowered their heads to eat silently, with an attitude of "it's none of my business, don't worry." Except for a few people. "Don't argue, Chen Yat will take me with him." "Wanda, give up this idea!" Deadpool shouted. Deadpool didn't think so much. He only wanted to go to the parallel universe and didn't care who Wanda was. No one could kill him anyway. Wanda obviously didn't expect Deadpool to argue with her. For a moment, her chaos magic was stimulated, her hair flew, her eyes turned red, and she glared at Deadpool. Seeing that Wanda was about to lose control, Pietro quickly grabbed her, fearing that Wanda would lose control and destroy the restaurant. Seeing this, Deadpool quickly ran behind Chen Yat and said in a mean way, "Brother Chen Yat, look at how fierce Sister Wanda is. I'm afraid of her." At this time, Master Yet and others had already picked up their bowls and sat at another table. Okay, all of you stay here. There are still a lot of things in Hell's Kitchen that need you to deal with. I only trust you." Chen Yat quickly ended the farce and said helplessly. At this moment, the door of the restaurant was suddenly pushed open, and a young woman in her 30s with a charming boy in her teens appeared at the door of the restaurant. Although this young woman was a little older, she still maintained a good figure, and her face did not show too many signs of aging, and she still looked charming. She asked cautiously, "Excuse me, are you hiring waiters here?" When the young woman saw Wanda's red hair and eyes and the man in the weird costume of Deadpool, she said embarrassedly, "It seems that I have come to the wrong place. Excuse me." Then she quickly pulled the little boy away. Thinking that the people in Hell's Kitchen are dangerous, and the old lady had deceived her before. It is said that the safest place in Hell's Kitchen is this restaurant. As long as the restaurant owner protects you, you can live safely in Hell's Kitchen. But it seems that this restaurant is the scariest place in Hell's Kitchen. Noticing that an outsider has entered the restaurant, Wanda quickly returned to her normal appearance. Chen Yat quickly explained, "Ma'am, that's right. We are hiring people here. They were just acting just now. Don't be afraid." Noticing that an outsider has entered the restaurant, Wanda first stared at Chen Yat and Deadpool fiercely, and then returned to her normal appearance. She walked up to the young woman and the little boy, smiled and asked, "Excuse me, what are your names?" Trying to restore her image just now. The young woman looked at Wanda, and it was hard to imagine that the woman in front of her was the oppressive red-haired girl just now. This lady's acting skills are really good. She replied, "My name is May Parker. This is my nephew Peter Parker. Are you hiring waiters here?" Chen Yat smiled and nodded, explaining, "Yes, I am the boss here, Chen Yat, and we are indeed hiring waiters." Chen Yat never expected that he had just sent away the Spider-Man of the parallel universe yesterday, and today he was sent the Spider-Man of their universe. Chapter 69. The two of them were so busy that they had to wait for the next meal. Aunt May looked at Chen Yat in front of her and felt that he was the most normal person in the restaurant. Aunt May was about to ask Chen Yat about his work. Unexpectedly, Peter Parker asked curiously, "Excuse me, are you superheroes? It's so cool." As soon as Peter Parker entered the door, he saw Deadpool's strange dress and Wanda's red eyes, but he was not scared. Instead, he was curious about these things. Everyone was stunned when they heard Peter Parker's question. They didn't expect that this child would ask such a question. Aunt May quickly covered Parker's mouth, and then smiled awkwardly at Chen Yat and others. "Children are ignorant, and it's really embarrassing to ask such questions." Deadpool suddenly stood up from his seat, walked to Peter Parker, and posed handsomely. "That's right, I didn't expect you to have such a good vision." "That's right, I am the strongest superhero here, Deadpool." Deadpool was obviously very satisfied with Parker in front of him, and said confidently. Chen Ye directly took Deadpool away, and then said to Parker, "We are not superheroes, we are just ordinary people." Chen Ye didn't want to be a superhero. Generally, superheroes mean that they will encounter a lot of super troubles. Parker looked at Chen Ye, who looked like an ordinary person in front of him, and didn't understand why Chen Ye, an ordinary person, was the boss here. The boss was not the handsome superhero Deadpool in front of him. Chen Ye looked at the little Parker who had not yet become Spider-Man, smiled, and his eyes revealed an indescribable depth. The life of a superhero is not as beautiful as people imagine. Sometimes, being an ordinary person and living an ordinary life is actually a kind of happiness. Chen Yi's words instantly made little Parker's favorability towards him plummet. Little Parker disagreed with what Chen Ye said. After all, every little boy has a dream of becoming a superhero. He straightened his chest and said firmly, "I don't want to live this kind of ordinary life. I must become a superhero." Wanda looked at the little Parker in front of her with interesting eyes, thinking of the parallel universe. Could it be that this person in front of her is the Spider-Man of this universe? Chen Ye shook his head. Little Parker was still too young, but this universe probably didn't have to sacrifice Uncle Ben, so it seemed that he could only sacrifice Aunt May. He looked at Aunt May on the side, with a bit of pity in his eyes. Deadpool noticed this scene and took the initiative to come over and patted Parker on the shoulder. His eyes flashed with a playful light, "Boy, I'm optimistic about you. As long as you are willing, I can teach you how to become a real superhero at any time." Then he took out a bouquet of roses and turned to Aunt May, who looked embarrassed and said, "I don't know if this Ms. May is single. It doesn't matter if she is not. As long as you are willing, I am willing to train this boy with you." Deadpool is still a little handsome after being cured by the horse spell. Aunt May blushed when she saw Deadpool's courtship in front of her. As soon as Deadpool finished speaking, Parker, who originally admired superheroes like Deadpool, instantly blocked Aunt May. His voice was full of anger and disappointment. "Let's go, Aunt May. The people here are not good people." Parker wanted to pull Aunt May away after he finished speaking. Chen Ye saw that the waiter of his restaurant was in hand, but it was about to be ruined by Deadpool again. He immediately kicked Deadpool away and said to Aunt May, "We provide food and accommodation for waiters here." Then he quickly pulled over the more normal Lao Ma and John Wick, pointed at them and said, "These two are our tenants and employees. Most of us are ordinary people like me. The guy just now was just an accident." Aunt May stopped immediately after hearing Chen Yi's condition of providing food and accommodation. After all, this condition is really tempting. Besides, she came to Hell's Kitchen because she had no money. However, Aunt May still looked at Chen Ye with doubts and vigilance. Free food and accommodation, a waiter has such a good treatment. After all, Aunt May asked herself that she was still a little pretty. Did this man like her? Wanda, who was beside her, couldn't help but feel jealous when she heard this. She looked down at herself, then at Aunt May, and suddenly realized the gap between herself and Aunt May. Then her eyes turned to Chen Ye again, and she began to wonder if she had seen Chen wrongly. Yi's motive. Chen Ye saw the look in Aunt May and Wanda's eyes, and immediately felt that he was misunderstood, and hurriedly explained. "We are indeed short of waiters here now. After all, our people often need to go out, and it is impossible to guard the store all the time. Our employees here are provided with food and accommodation, and I think it is not easy for you, a woman with a child. Don't worry, I am not the kind of person you think. I guess you came to Hell's Kitchen because of the school here." Aunt May nodded after hearing Chen Yi's explanation, and replied, "Yes, I heard that the school here is about to open, and it is free. So I want to send Parker in." Chen Ye smiled and said, "I am the founder of this school, so don't worry. Besides, this place is not far from the school, you can also visit little Parker when you are free." Hearing this, Aunt May's expression was a little surprised. She never thought that Chen Ye was the founder of this school. "I'm willing to stay." Aunt May had no worries after hearing what Chen Ye said. After all, Chen Ye had the ability to open a school and could have any woman he wanted. He would not be interested in an old woman like her. Chen Ye nodded and then told Pietro. "Take them upstairs to pick a room, and then tell him what he needs to do on a daily basis." Then Chen Ye watched Pietro, Aunt May and the vigilant little Parker walk to the elevator, and of course, a courteous Deadpool followed behind. "Okay, we've just been delayed for some time. During this time I'm gone, you all have to do your own things well." Chen Ye began to explain things to everyone. An hour later. Chenya explained everything and hurried upstairs to pack up and prepare to leave. Everyone left the restaurant one after another, but Wanda was still not leaving. She looked at Chen Yi's busy figure, feeling worried and helpless. When Chen Yi prepared his things and went downstairs to leave, he saw that Wanda had not left, and he knew what Wanda was thinking. When Chen Yi prepared his things and went downstairs to leave, he saw Wanda still standing there, and he knew what she was thinking. He walked up to Wanda, patted her shoulder gently, and comforted her, "I will be back soon, don't worry. I'll leave Hell's Kitchen to you." Wanda looked at him, her eyes full of worry and reluctance. She knew that Chen Yi's departure this time might mean danger and challenge, but she also knew that he had to do it. She nodded silently, without saying anything else, just watching him leave silently. Then, a huge golden halo suddenly appeared behind Chen Yi, instantly covering everything around him. Wanda looked at all this in amazement, and then saw Chen Yi pass through the halo and disappear from her sight. Chapter 70. The old man was so confused that he was not able to finish the task. "So how can I complete the task? Master Guyi, the damn riddle man." Chen Yi muttered helplessly while sitting in a cafe outside the Columbia University Museum. Chen Yi recalled the meeting with Master Guyi 2 days ago, and asked what it would take to complete the task. Guyi just said lightly, "You will know when the time comes." Then he threw the confused Chen Yi into the crack of time and space. I don't know whether Master Guyi trusts Chen Yi's ability or simply wants to retaliate against Chen Yi's pretentious behavior 2 days ago. Chen Yi has been in this parallel universe for 2 days. Looking at this similar place, it is also the Big Apple City, with the same tall buildings. The difference is that there is no Stark Industries building here, but there is an Osborne Industries building. Rather than saying this is a parallel universe, it is better to say that this is a parallel universe dedicated to Spider-Man. There is no Iron Man, no Shield, and no Camartage here. It seems that Spider-Man has not been born yet, because Chen Yi did not see a man publicly complaining about Spider-Man in the Daily Bugle. Chen Yi is still not sure which Spider-Man's parallel universe this is. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be confirmed today. Chen Yi learned through various channels that people from a university will visit the Spider Museum today. So Chen Yi dressed up as a tourist early and waited in the cafe in Columbia University. If nothing unexpected happens today, Chen Yi should be able to see Peter Parker here. On the other side. "Hey, stop the car for me." A man wearing glasses and a striped shirt was seen slapping the window of the school bus and shouting there. "Please stop the bus." The man ran after the school bus and begged it to stop. This cowardly man was exactly the person Chen Yi needed to find, the Peter Parker of this parallel universe. When the driver of the school bus saw this scene, he not only did not stop the bus, but also accelerated the speed of the bus while laughing. "Call a taxi, Parker." Other classmates also laughed at the man while watching the show, and had no intention of asking the driver to stop. Finally, a red-haired woman who was being intimate with her boyfriend couldn't stand it anymore. This person was Mary Jane Watson, Peter Parker's neighbor. Maybe it was because of kindness, or because Parker was her neighbor. She quickly stepped forward and tilted her head and shouted to the bus driver, "Stop the car." He started chasing from Woodham Street. Perhaps the bus driver was afraid of being complained, so he could only stop the car unwillingly. Poor Parker chased for more than 10 minutes and finally got on the bus. He panted and apologized to the driver, "Thank you, sorry. I'm late." As soon as Peter finished speaking, he attracted all kinds of ridicule and sarcasm from his classmates. They also threw small notes one after another, as if to make him feel more embarrassed in this way. Peter was used to this kind of treatment, and he just wanted to find a seat and sit down as soon as possible. But when he saw an empty seat, the classmate next to him quickly occupied it with both hands, obviously not wanting Peter to sit down. He said to Peter Parker with disdain, "Don't even think about it, you idiot, Parker." Peter could only continue to move forward helplessly, and all the places where there were empty seats were rejected by his classmates. Peter felt very disappointed. He cowardly did not sit down shamelessly, but kept walking to the end of the bus. When passing by his neighbor Mary, Peter looked at her with a smile. But Mary was hugged by her boyfriend at this time, and her eyes were dodging, and it was obvious that she didn't want to have too much contact with Peter. Just when Peter's eyes were fixed on Mary, a gangster student beside him suddenly stretched out his foot and tripped Peter. Peter Parker didn't notice and fell to the ground, and his glasses were gone. Seeing Peter embarrassed, the bus laughed again. This seemed to have become their entertainment. The bus continued to move forward amidst the laughter and arrived at the destination. However, Parker fell into deep loss. After waiting for 2 hours, Chen Ye also saw Peter Parker in the school tour group. Chen Ye left the cafe and walked towards Peter Parker. At this time, Peter was still greeting her neighbors, but Mary was just with her best friend. Just a greeting. Just when Peter was embarrassed, he suddenly heard a voice that shocked his heart. "Brother, if you like her, go after her. You won't be able to pick up girls if you're a licker like this." The voice came from a man who stood behind Peter and looked at him with a smile. Peter was a little confused because he didn't know this man. At this time, Chen Ye had confirmed that the world in front of him was Toby's version of Spider-Man, and also the most real and cowardly Spider-Man. However, Chen Ye did look a little friendly, because the man in front of him was the first superhero movie he had seen in his previous life. He may not have the personal heroism of Iron Man and Captain America, but he is indeed the most real superhero. Peter Parker looked at the familiar man in confusion and asked, "Do we know each other?" "My name is Chen Ye, I know you, Peter Parker, right? I was your former classmate. Don't you recognize me?" Chen Ye explained innocently. Peter Parker heard Chen Ye's words and thought for a while. He didn't seem to have any Chinese classmates, but the man in front of him knew his name. Could it be that he was really my former classmate? Peter couldn't help thinking. "You really don't remember? You are the Peter who is often bullied. I was also bullied because of my Asian identity before, so I have an impression of you." Chen Ye quickly made up a story, but Asians being bullied in this free country is not a fabrication. Chen Ye's words surprised Peter a little. He didn't expect that he and this man had the same experience. He began to have a good impression of this man and took the initiative to reach out and shake Chen Ye's hand. "Hurry up, classmates behind." Just when Peter wanted to continue asking Chen Ye, he was urged by the tour guide. Peter could only look at Chen Ye with an apologetic face. "Sorry, I have to go to visit first. We will find a chance to talk later." Peter rarely met a classmate who was friendly to him, and wanted to talk to Chen Ye for a while. Chen Ye waved his hand, indicating that he didn't care. But Chen Ye followed him. After all, Chen Ye still wanted to witness the famous scene of Spider-Man's birth. Chapter 71. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Chen Ye followed Peter Parker all the way and met his good friend Harry and Norman Osborn, who had not yet become the Green Goblin. Chen Ye felt that this version of Harry was very miserable. His girlfriend was robbed, his father was killed, and he was also disfigured by the explosion. I don't know why a rich second generation like Harry would like to be friends with a poor loser like Peter Parker. This is probably just a movie. It would never happen in reality. Unconsciously, Chen Ye also followed Peter into the exhibition hall. There are a total of 32,000 known spider species in the world. A scientist was explaining to the group of young people, and Peter and others listened with relish. "Wow, this is so cool." Peter couldn't help but sighed. Peter was taking photos while listening to the scientist's explanation. Chen Ye leaned against a corner and quietly waited for the plot to happen. Harry on the side urged Peter, "Do you want to talk to Mary now?" Peter shyly shook his head and refused. No, go talk to her." Obviously Peter did not have the courage to talk to Mary in front of him. Seeing this, Harry could only go forward and talk to Mary himself. "It's really disgusting." Mary looked at these little spiders with excitement, but it was obvious that she didn't hate the spiders in front of her. "Yes, it's really disgusting." Harry went forward and echoed. Seeing the two people chatting hotly, Peter looked at them from behind and felt very uncomfortable. And Harry was now popularizing the knowledge about spiders to Mary, which was what Peter had just popularized to Harry. Peter could only lick his wounds silently behind him. If he was braver, would he be the one popularizing Mary now? Just when they were chatting heatedly, only Chen Ye noticed that there was one spider missing from the cage that was supposed to contain 15 spiders, and the spider was now in the corner of the ceiling. Just at this moment, Harry was pulled aside by the teacher, leaving Peter and Mary alone. Peter was still hesitant at this moment, and Chen Ye couldn't stand it anymore, so he walked up to them and said, "How about I take a photo of the two of you? Then Peter will take a photo of you separately." Chen Ye blinked at Peter. "Is that okay?" Peter looked at Chen Ye with a grateful expression, and then looked at Mary with expectation. This opportunity was very rare for him. Peter didn't expect to see this classmate Chen Ye again, and he didn't expect Chen Ye to help him speak up. Peter dreamed of taking a photo with Mary. This made Peter like Chen Ye even better. Mary looked at Peter hesitantly, then looked at Chen Ye holding the camera, and finally nodded. Although it was strange that Chen Ye suddenly came in and asked her and Peter to take a photo, Mary also thought that there was nothing wrong with taking a photo together. Then, under Chen Ye's urging, Chen Ye quickly pressed the shutter and left a photo of the two of them. Peter had a happy photo with Mary. Seize the opportunity yourself. Chen Ye reminded Peter, returned the camera and left. Then Chen Ye received a system reminder. Ding! Congratulations to the host, Peter Parker, Toby version, was successfully added as a friend. Congratulations to the host, get the item, the bully glasses. Congratulations to the host, get 10 points of friendship. Looking at the bully glasses in his hand, Chen Ye was speechless. The introduction of this glasses is really pitfall. Bullshit glasses, wearing this glasses will increase the hostility of people around you by 100%, a must-have prop for playing the pig and eating the tiger. Sure enough, Peter was a waste before he became Spider-Man. Peter took the opportunity to ask Mary for a few more photos, and Chen Ye, who had quietly left, returned and quietly waited for Peter to be bitten by a spider. Just as Peter was happily taking photos of Mary, a spider suddenly descended from the sky and was about to bite Peter. Mary's boyfriend was furious when he saw that Peter, a coward, was actually talking and laughing while taking photos of Mary. He knocked Peter down with a punch, and the spider that was supposed to land on Peter landed on Mary's boyfriend instead. Ah! A heart-wrenching scream instantly filled the entire exhibition hall. Everyone heard it and came forward to check. It was obvious that the spider was going to be on Mary's boyfriend. Mary's boyfriend instantly convulsed and foamed at the mouth on the ground. Mary, who was standing next to him, was terrified. I was speechless. Peter looked at the scene in front of him with a puzzled look. Chen Ye drank coffee and watched the scene calmly. The spider that was supposed to bite Peter actually bit a minor character. It was obvious that this minor character did not have the life of the protagonist. He could not resist the spider's poison and fell to the ground dying. Chen Ye was looking forward to what would happen next, but he also had to keep a close eye on the spider. If necessary, he could let it bite Peter again to get the plot back on track, otherwise Chen Ye didn't know when he could complete the task and return to his own universe. However, after the spider bit, it seemed to know that it had done something wrong and quickly fled the scene. He quickly looked around to find the figure of the spider, but there were more and more people around him, and the scene became chaotic. Chen Ye could only close his eyes and use his observation haki to find the whereabouts of the spider. At this time, the security guards outside the venue also began to evacuate the crowd and sealed the cages of the spiders. It was obvious that they were afraid that the same accident would happen again. Harry and his teacher heard the screams and rushed back to the exhibition hall, seeing such a tragic scene. Harry quickly ignored Peter lying on the ground, and hurried forward to hug Mary, trying to comfort the frightened Mary with his chest. Peter watched this scene, and the anger in his heart continued to heat up. His clenched fists trembled slightly, and the anger in his eyes seemed to burn everything around him. At this time, Chen Ye finally found the spider in a corner, and it was about to bite an innocent passerby. Chen Ye calmly used chaos magic to freeze the spider to prevent it from causing harm again. Chen Ye has not yet decided whether to control the spider to bite again, or to take the spider away without caring about the universe. Take the spider back to study it, maybe you can mass-produce Spider-Man. But looking at the man who was bitten by the spider and was about to die, Chen Ye gave up the idea again. Bad world. Chen Ye couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the chaotic scene of Peter lying on the ground and Harry hugging Mary, the green tea bitch. At this moment, Chen Ye couldn't help but have an idea in his mind, why not let the spider bite Mary? Then Chen Ye removed the chaos magic on the spider, but the spider didn't bite Mary, but bit Peter directly as if it received an inexplicable command. Chen Ye looked at this scene and could only sigh slightly. It seems that some things are destined. So, that means the mission should be completed, I can go back. After Chen Ye said this, he wanted to activate the ring to go back, but there was no response after waiting for a long time. Chen Ye frowned, could it be that the crisis has not been resolved? Chapter 72. At the same time when Peter was bitten by the spider, several space-time cracks suddenly appeared over the Big Apple. These cracks seemed to be torn apart by invisible forces, exuding a mysterious atmosphere. After the cracks appeared, several figures floated out of the cracks. They looked a little strange, with blurred faces, as if they had traveled from another time and space. Is this heaven? Didn't I sink into the sea with the tritium element? One of the figures who came out of the space-time crack muttered to himself. This person was Dr. Octopus, who looked around with confused eyes. Am I not dead? Dr. Octopus rubbed his eyes painfully. He saw the familiar buildings around him, but he felt like he was dreaming. But before Dr. Octopus started to act, he lost his mind again. His mechanical arm was raging like a storm, smashing the surrounding objects to the ground fiercely, making bursts of harsh sounds. Pedestrians dodged and screamed in fear. They stared with wide eyes, watching the mechanical monster running wildly on the street, their hearts filled with fear and helplessness. There are no superheroes in this world, and everyone can only hide and pray helplessly. Dr. Octopus seemed to enjoy seeing people's desperate and surprised expressions, and his several mechanical arms waved more vigorously. He was full of ecstasy and pride, as if announcing his existence to the world. Suddenly, dense gunshots and police car sirens were heard in the distance. The fully armed special police quickly arrived at the scene, and they suppressed the firepower one after another, trying to stop the destructive behavior of this mechanical monster. For a time, the streets became a mess, and cars were grabbed by mechanical arms and smashed hard at the special police. Some special police and innocent citizens were unable to dodge, and were immediately smashed and bleeding, with corpses everywhere. The tragic scene was shocking, and the special police gradually felt the pressure. As time went by, more and more SWAT officers were killed by Dr. Octopus, and the situation became very critical. The situation at the scene was broadcast in real time by a helicopter in the sky, and everyone witnessed the disaster. This mechanical monster seemed to have lost its mind, its behavior became more and more crazy, and it was a mess wherever it went. The SWAT officers seemed to be in a desperate situation, and they could not stop the destructive behavior of this mechanical monster. All the people watching the news were praying silently, hoping that a hero would come forward. Peter Parker, who was on his way home, also saw this scene on TV, clenched his fists and thought, if only I had the ability to stop all this. At this time, a mother was fleeing with a little girl at the scene, and the little girl was accidentally tripped by a stone. Dr. Octopus seemed to have seen the scene in front of him, with a cruel smile on his face, and the mechanical arm grabbed a car on the side of the road and threw it in the direction of the little girl. The mother seemed to realize that a car was about to hit her child, so she could only hold the crying little girl tightly and try to use her body to block the car for the girl. Her eyes were full of determination and helplessness, which moved Peter. Peter watched this scene on TV. Anger and sadness intertwined in his heart. He clenched his fists and shouted with reluctance and fear, "No!" His voice seemed to penetrate the screen and rescue the mother and the little girl from danger. However, just when the car was about to hit the mother and daughter, people heard a mechanical voice from the TV. Eternal. When the smoke cleared, people did not see the desperate picture they imagined, but saw a knight wearing a black cape and a blue and white mask. He blocked the car rushing towards the mother and daughter like a god of war. It was Chen Ye who noticed something wrong in time and rushed to the scene. As for why he became Kamen Rider Eternal, it was simply because Chen Ye did not want to expose his identity. After all, Chen Ye was still an illegal resident in this world and did not want to cause too much trouble. It's okay, it's safe now. Chen Ye turned around and said to the mother and daughter who were still in shock. The mother slowly regained consciousness after Chen Ye's reminder, and she hurriedly thanked Chen Ye. However, Chen Ye did not stop, and asked them to leave here quickly, as this was no longer a safe place. The people watching the scene cheered in unison, as if they were happy that Chen Ye could save the mother and daughter. Even some elderly people fainted because they could not stand the stimulation. Peter waved his fist and shouted excitedly, "So cool!" It seemed that he was praising Chen Ye's behavior and praising this handsome knight. Peter was full of admiration and envy's eyes looked at Chen Ye on TV. If I had his ability, would Mary like me and would I not be bullied? At this moment, Peter's heart hoped that he could become a superhero. The only one who felt unhappy was probably the gloomy Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus looked up and down at the knight who disturbed his interest and asked, "Are you the superhero of this world?" Dr. Octopus did not expect that there would be a superhero like Spider-Man in this strange place. Then, without waiting for Chen Ye's answer, he directly controlled the mechanical arm to attack Chen Ye. However, Chen Ye did not panic. He focused his eyes and dodged the attack with a flash. Then his eyes turned cold, and his body flashed again and appeared in front of Dr. Octopus. He punched Dr. Octopus and knocked him back several steps. "It seems that you don't know my strength," Chen Ye said coldly to Dr. Octopus. "You Dr. Octopus didn't expect that his full-strength attack was so easily avoided by Chen Ye, and he was even knocked back by one punch. People who had been watching the scene didn't expect that Dr. Octopus, who had shown so much strength before, and even the special police couldn't do anything to him, was easily repelled by the blue and white knight in front of him. At the same time, they all began to cheer for Chen Ye crazily. Come on! Come on! Defeat this mechanical monster! Peter, who was watching on TV, was even more shocked by the knight in front of him. This was the person he dreamed of becoming. At this moment, Peter had imagined that the person under the knight's mask was him, and then he saved the world, and then he would reveal the mask and propose to his beloved goddess Mary in public. For a while, Peter's mouth drooled with happiness. Dr. Octopus was obviously annoyed by the shouting of these ants. Then he controlled more mechanical arms to attack in all directions, and for a while, dense mechanical arms attacked the onlookers. The crowd once again fled in terror. Chen Ye looked around helplessly. Don't you know that eating melons is also life-threatening? Then he manipulated the magnetic force to twist the mechanical arm into a ball. Dr. Octopus felt that his mechanical arm was out of control, and looked at the knight in front of him in horror and asked, "Who are you?" Whether it was the people watching TV or the onlookers, they held their breath, waiting for the answer of the blue and white masked knight. Chen Ye shook his cloak, pointed at Dr. Octopus, and slowly said, "I am just a Kamen Rider passing by, remember it." Chapter 73. The old man was so angry that he was lying on the ground. Kamen Rider. Peter finally heard the name of the blue and white mask on TV. His heart seemed to be touched, and his eyes were full of excitement, as if he wanted to convey this excitement to the knight on the other side of the TV, so that he could feel his admiration. He wanted to find the knight for an autograph, but his body, which had just been bitten by a spider, did not allow him to do so. The onlookers also shouted, with admiration flashing in their eyes, as if Kamen Rider was their god. Kamen Rider! You are my god! Kamen Rider, my superhero! There were even some open ladies, with admiration and love flashing in their eyes, who began to throw clothes at Chen Ye, wanting Chen Ye to sign on the clothes. Their actions made Chen Ye laugh and cry. He looked at the clothes flying towards him and felt helpless. If they didn't dare to approach the scene, they would have signed their names directly on their chests. Damn Kamen Rider! Dr. Octopus roared. Chen Ye looked at Dr. Octopus, who was controlled by the machine in front of him pitifully, and crushed all the mechanical arms mercilessly. The parts and metal fragments scattered on the ground seemed to tell the crazy battle just now. Dr. Octopus, who lost his mechanical arm, also regained his sanity. He looked around in confusion at first, and then begged Chen Ye, "Please kill me, I don't want to kill innocent people anymore." Chen Ye didn't say anything, just looked at him coldly. Then, he walked up and punched Dr. Octopus on the head, knocking him unconscious. Then, Chen Ye forcibly pulled out the mechanical arm attached to Dr. Octopus's neck, and blood gushed out instantly. In this way, Dr. Octopus will no longer be controlled by the mechanical arm. After doing all this, Chen Ye took out a magic bean from his pocket and put it next to Dr. Octopus' mouth. Dr. Octopus is still useful to Chen Ye now. Chen Ye also wants to know from Dr. Octopus whether he is from this universe, and if not, how he got here. After all, according to Chen Ye's own understanding, this universe should be a few years away from the birth of Dr. Octopus. Chen Ye's heart is full of doubts and curiosity, and he needs more information to answer these questions. So he decided to keep Dr. Octopus temporarily. Maybe after he wakes up, he can get some useful information from him. Then Chen Ye picked up Dr. Octopus with one hand and quickly left the scene. Soon the police blocked the scene, and medical staff and firefighters also started on-site rescue. The onlookers and the audience in front of the TV started a discussion about this hero. The hero Kamen Rider left the scene in style. It's a pity that we couldn't interview him. Who is this Kamen Rider? NNC will continue to report for you. A reporter excitedly reported to the camera. Peter Parker also dragged his exhausted body back home and fell asleep on the bed, still muttering Kamen Rider. In a corner near Chen Ye's battlefield, a man who looked like Black Spider-Man said to himself, "I thought there were no superheroes in this universe. Fortunately, I didn't go out to hunt rashly." This person was Eddie, who was possessed by venom. There was black liquid on Eddie's left face, as if telling Eddie that he needed to eat. Okay, there's plenty of food here. Besides, didn't you just eat too? Wait until you are full and drink enough, then go deal with this Kamen Rider. Eddie said, covering his squirming face. Unfortunately, there is no Spider-Man in this world. I have to repay him for blowing me into a brand new universe. Eddie laughed unscrupulously. He originally thought that he was killed by Spider-Man's bomb, but he didn't expect that it was a blessing in disguise. Not only could he communicate with Venom, but he also traveled to a new universe. He is not the uncontrollable guy like Dr. Octopus. He is a reporter himself, so he naturally knows where to get information most easily. After a simple search and the fact that Venom devoured the memories of the two guys, he roughly understood that this is a universe without superheroes. As for the Kamen Rider who just appeared, Eddie thought that as long as Venom accumulated enough energy, no one would be his opponent, so he was not to be feared. Eddie's smile became brighter and brighter, and he began to plan how to show his power in this new universe. It happened that the two Nickas passed by Eddie. Eddie walked into the alley of the old man's house and saw Eddie alone. The two Nigos walked towards Eddie with ill intentions. Seeing this, Eddie muttered to himself, "This is another two foods delivered to the door." Then in the horrified eyes of the two Nigos, Venom opened his bloody mouth and swallowed the two. A minute later, Eddie walked out slowly, and there was no trace of the two Nigos inside. He decided to find some food to fill Venom's stomach first, and then find a safe place to slowly plan his actions. On the other side, Harry, who had just returned home, saw a pile of blood on the ground and his dying father. His face turned pale in an instant, and his steps staggered a few steps. Then he ran to his father Osborn in fear and asked in panic, "Dad, Dad! What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" Harry looked at Osborn anxiously with tears in his eyes, and his body was shaking constantly. He held his father's hand tightly, trying to feel his signs of life, but in the end he only felt a coldness. Then Harry shouted around with red eyes, "Where are the people? Is there anyone? Call an ambulance for me." Harry looked around with red eyes, and saw that the living room was in a mess, with blood and scars all over the floor. He roared angrily around, "Who is it? Come out!" However, there was silence around, and no one responded to Harry's roar. At this time, he noticed that his father's finger slowly pointed behind Harry. Harry turned around and saw a man in a green mecha on a skateboard with a pumpkin bomb in his hand. This man looked a little weird. He was wearing a strange mecha and holding a strange weapon in his hand, which made the whole scene even more weird and terrifying. Harry looked at the appearance of this man in horror, and his heart was full of doubts and fear. He asked, "Who are you? Why are you here? Why did you kill my father?" The man in the green mecha looked at Harry who was kneeling on the ground in fear, took off his helmet and slowly said, "Harry, you are still the same waste as always, my waste son." This man is Osborn Green Goblin from the parallel universe. Chapter 74. The Green Goblin looked exactly like his father. Harry looked at the Green Goblin in front of him with fear, and he was speechless for a moment. The Green Goblin walked slowly towards Harry, throwing a pumpkin bomb in his hand. "I am your father, Harry. Why are you looking at me with such fear?" The Green Goblin said with an evil smile. "You are not my father, how can you be my father? You are not my father!" Harry shouted in horror, he could not accept that the evil Green Goblin in front of him was his father. The Green Goblin looked at Harry in disappointment, "Forget it, I'll send you to see your father. Next, I'll treat our little Spider-Man well." The Green Goblin's words made Harry feel even more frightened. He was afraid that he would be killed by the Green Goblin, but now he had no other choice. When the Green Goblin first came to this world, he was still a little confused. When he wandered around trying to find the familiar Osborn building in this world, the Green Goblin instantly changed direction. The Green Goblin believed that since there was an Osborn building, it must be that he had survived the disaster and returned directly to his home. Unexpectedly, there was an Osborn who had not yet become the Green Goblin at home, which made the Green Goblin confirm that he was not back to the original world, but came to a brand new world. There is also Osborn in this brand new world, and there is also himself, so there must be the Spider-Man he hates. So the Green Goblin decided to kill Osborn in front of him first, and then continue to survive in place of Osborn in this world. However, just as the Green Goblin was about to take action, the conscience of the Green Goblin, that is, Osborn, woke up. The Green Goblin is Norman Osborn's second personality after using the human enhancement potion developed by the company. The Green Goblin's fingers trembled slightly. He looked at the bomb in his hand, then looked at himself lying on the ground, and Harry who was looking at him in horror. He saw his own figure and asked Harry in confusion, "Child, don't be afraid. I won't hurt you." What's going on here? Why is there another me? Harry was confused by his words and looked at him, not knowing how to answer. His heart tightened, but he still tried to stay calm. The one lying here is my father Osborn, a well-known entrepreneur. He was hurt by you. Please save him. Harry took advantage of the gap with Osborn and secretly called the police on his mobile phone. Osborn sighed, obviously noticing Harry's little move. But Osborn didn't care, because his second personality, the Green Goblin, began to stir again, and it seemed that there were two of him fighting for sovereignty in his mind. He could only cover his head with a painful face. He knew he couldn't let this situation continue. I am Osborn, but sometimes I turn into the Green Goblin. That is my evil personality. Osborn answered with difficulty, his voice full of helplessness and pain. I don't know why I am here, and I don't know why it has become like this. Child, I can't answer your questions, you just need to know that I am also your father. Just as Osborn wanted to continue explaining, the Green Goblin in his mind could no longer be suppressed. He felt his body begin to change, and the originally peaceful inner world was instantly broken. He knew that he didn't have much time. At this moment, the Green Goblin suddenly rushed out of his body and laughed wildly, ha ha ha. This is my power. I'm back. Harry knew that someone had changed now, because Harry saw that his eyes were full of evil and fanaticism. Is this really my father? Harry was full of questions. Then Osborn fought back to control his body. He shouted to Harry with his remaining reason, run. Go find Peter Parker. Osborn knew that he couldn't let the Green Goblin appear again, and he couldn't let Harry get hurt. So he endured the pain, rode on the flying skateboard, and flew away. He knew that once the Green Goblin appeared, he would come back here again. He just wanted to buy time to give Harry, the poor child, enough time to escape. At this time, the panicked Harry finally came to his senses and quickly picked up the phone to call a doctor. But Harry himself was still a little confused as to why he was asked to find Peter Parker. But before he could think about it, the police had already arrived quickly. After all, Osborn was a local taxpayer. The policemen surrounded Harry nervously. They knew they were dealing with a very serious matter. They had to act quickly and accurately to ensure the safety of everyone. They began to give first aid to Osborn, who fell to the ground, while understanding the specific situation with Harry. On the other side, Osborn began to fly quickly on a skateboard. Osborn didn't know where to go, but he knew that as long as he was as far away from Harry as possible. At this moment, a large black shadow suddenly appeared in the sky and flew quickly to Osborn. Osborn turned his head with difficulty and looked. It was obviously a bald man with wings flying in the air. The bald man said to Osborn, "Hey, Green Goblin. I know you, introduce myself, I am Vulture. Do you want to join forces to rule the world together?" It is obvious that Vulture has realized that this world is no longer the previous world, and the reason why he values Green Goblin is also very simple. After all, Vulture has no funds and equipment when he first arrived. If he wants to strengthen his strength, he needs the funding of Osborn Enterprises. Vulture's real name is Adrian Toombs. He was originally an electronic engineer and had always had a dream of flying. He did countless experiments to build a pair of wings like a bird, but he was deceived by a businessman and imprisoned because he lacked research funds. After escaping from prison, his temperament changed drastically. He used the flying suit he invented to transform into a vulture and began to take revenge on society. It is obvious that he has suffered a loss last time. This time he is going to find the largest company to fund him. He is not worried that the Green Goblin will disagree. If he disagrees, he will use his own strength to make the other party agree. Osborn did not pay attention to the vulture at this moment, because he could no longer control himself at this moment. The Green Goblin appeared again, and his cunning smile and flashing cold eyes revealed his coldness and evil. He, if you want me to invest, then let me see if you are qualified. The Green Goblin said contemptuously, and his skateboard changed position instantly, and a machine gun suddenly appeared. With a light tap of his fingers, the machine gun began to madly shoot at the vulture. The vulture saw the sudden change in the Green Goblin's temperament and became alert instantly. The vulture quickly took off, and then pulled up the laser gun to counterattack the Green Goblin. A fierce air battle began, and the vulture fought with the Green Goblin with his flight suit and laser gun. Chapter 75. The Green Goblin's machine gun kept roaring, trying to shoot down the vulture in one fell swoop, but the vulture relied on superb skills and strong strength to dodge the attacks again and again, and even counterattacked successfully. The Green Goblin's skateboard did not fly as high as the vulture's flying height, so it was a bit difficult to hit from bottom to top. Suddenly, the vulture dived, and the laser of the laser gun shot directly at the Green Goblin's machine gun, destroying it instantly. Seeing this, the Green Goblin's face changed, and he knew that he had encountered a strong enemy this time. The vulture seized the opportunity and dived to attack the Green Goblin directly. When it was about to succeed, the Green Goblin suddenly disappeared from the spot, leaving the vulture empty-handed. When the Green Goblin appeared again, he had a sharp dagger in his hand. He rushed towards the vulture in an instant. When the dagger was swung, a cold light flashed, and the vulture was immediately shocked and broke into a cold sweat. However, at this moment, the Green Goblin suddenly stopped attacking, and he looked at the vulture with surprise and confusion in his eyes. It turned out that the vulture had escaped the disaster at the last moment by using the special function of the flight suit. The Green Goblin looked at the vulture coldly. It seems that you really have some skills. He put away the machine gun and dagger. Since you have this strength, then I will give you a chance. Come with me. After that, the Green Goblin controlled his skateboard and left directly. The vulture let out a long breath and followed the Green Goblin. He knew that if the battle just now lasted a little longer, he would probably have to run for his life. Because his energy was about to be exhausted, he could now cooperate with the Green Goblin in front of him, which was also a preliminary achievement of his goal. Chen Ye brought Dr. Octopus to the small villa, which was originally the residence of a pair of illegal activities, but now has become a trophy for Chen Ye to eliminate harm for the people. After some cleaning, the residence looks clean and tidy. Put Dr. Octopus in an empty room, while Chen Ye closed his eyes and rested, thinking about the next action plan. During this period, Chen Ye has confirmed that the Dr. Octopus in front of him is from another universe, because Chen Ye used the observation haki to feel 4 or 5 similar auras. This is a bit like the plot in Spider-Man 3 in the previous life. The enemies of each Spider-Man universe traveled through time and space just to kill Spider-Man. The difference is that Peter Parker here has not even made a Spider-Man suit yet. Peter's uncle is not dead yet, and he has not said the classic saying, the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. With Peter's current strength, Dr. Octopus can't beat him, let alone other villains. If Chen Ye did not appear in this universe, there would be no superheroes in this universe, and Spider-Man would definitely be killed. The future of this universe will be full of darkness and terror, and those villains will do evil unscrupulously. The most urgent task is that Chen Ye needs to determine who the remaining villains in this universe are and eliminate them. In this way, the task should be perfectly solved and he can go back. Besides, some people can also be won over. Speaking of the villains in the Spider-Man universe, Chen Ye wants to laugh. Basically, they are all highly educated people, and then he has to test the poison himself. Either they are controlled by the things they invented, or they become lizards, or they are out of control. But these highly educated people are exactly the talents that Hell's Kitchen lacks. Chen Ye is not afraid of their blind inventions. Anyway, no matter how those inventors toss, Chen Ye has the ability to prevent them from losing control. 2 hours later, Dr. Octopus woke up from the bed slowly and struggled to sit up. He was surprised to find that there was no mechanical arm around him. He touched his neck uncertainly. He found that his neck was very smooth, without any trace of being connected by the mechanical arm. Dr. Octopus opened his eyes wide, then slapped himself with his hand, and felt obvious pain on his face. He murmured to himself, "Is it possible that everything that happened before was a dream? Have I never been controlled by the mechanical arm from beginning to end?" At this moment, a voice sounded in the room, "You are not dreaming. You are a professor who has received higher education, but you can still be controlled by a mechanical arm. It's really embarrassing." Dr. Octopus turned his head and found Chen Ye leaning against the wall. He slowly said, "My name is Chen Ye. If I guess correctly, you should not belong to this universe. As for how to help you release the control, you may not understand, but it is easy for me." After listening to Chen Ye's, his pupils dilated. He didn't expect Chen Ye to know that he was not from this universe. He also thought that Chen Ye could help him get rid of the control. "You are not from this universe either. Where is this place? Why did I come here? Am I not dead?" Dr. Octopus had many questions in his mind. "Yes, the difference is that I came here actively, and you entered this universe passively. As for why you came here, maybe you have a common enemy." Chen Ye kept it a secret. "Who is it?" Dr. Octopus asked excitedly. "Spider-Man, Peter Parker." Chen Ye spoke slowly. Peter. Dr. Octopus was stunned. Yes, it's Peter, the one you know. To put it in a simple way, you traveled back to the past. Chen Ye answered affirmatively. Dr. Octopus stood up excitedly when he heard Chen Yi's words. His eyes were full of expectation and nervousness. He asked eagerly, so, you mean that there are me and my wife in this world? Dr. Octopus's mood at the moment is complicated. He is afraid that he and his wife in this universe will fall into tragedy again, and he needs to stop them immediately. Don't worry, Spider-Man in this universe has just been born, and it will take a long time for you to complete the invention and brew tragedy. Chen Ye comforted. Then Chen Ye gave Dr. Octopus popular science about parallel universes and told Dr. Octopus why Chen Ye saved him. After listening to Chen Yi's popular science, Dr. Octopus knew that if he wanted to protect this universe from being destroyed, Peter Parker was the key. He didn't expect that he was just a stepping stone on Peter's growth path. Thank you for saving me. After the matter is over, I am willing to return to your universe with you. Now I don't have too many concerns, and this old life is handed over to you. Dr. Octopus said sincerely. After all, he is now a lonely man, and the only thing he cares about is himself and his wife in this universe. If he could save himself and his wife in this universe, that would be his greatest wish and comfort. As long as things are over, in order to repay the life-saving grace, Dr. Octopus is willing to join Chen Yi's team. Dr. Octopus still has a little selfishness. Following Chen Ye in front of him, he might be able to travel through various parallel universes and save more of himself and his wife. Being able to freely travel through various parallel time and space is a big temptation for a physics doctor. Chen Ye was moved after listening to Dr. Octopus's words. He understood Dr. Octopus's determination and expectations, so he nodded and expressed his willingness to help Dr. Octopus fulfill this wish. Chen Yi's system interface also popped up a prompt. Congratulations to the host, Otto Günther Octavius has become your friend. Congratulations to the host, Otto Günther Octavius's friend degree is full of stars. Chapter 76. The two of them were very happy. Then let's rest tonight. Tomorrow I'll go find Peter Parker, and you go and fulfill your wish. Chen Ye said slowly. Considering that you don't have the ability to fight now, I'll ask one of my partners to protect your safety. Chen Ye added, his eyes flashing with a deep light, as if looking for a trustworthy partner. Dr. Octopus looked at Chen Ye gratefully. He didn't expect that there would be someone in the world who cared about him, an old man. A warm current surged in his heart. I don't know who this person is and where he is. Dr. Octopus looked around and didn't find anyone, so he asked curiously. I'll see it soon. Chen Ye replied mysteriously. Dr. Octopus saw Chen Ye put his hands in his pockets, and then slowly spoke. His voice was deep and powerful, as if he was summoning some kind of power. On your right. Then a magic circle appeared on Chen Yi's right. In Dr. Octopus's sight, a figure walked out of the magic circle. It was a hero wearing a strange red suit similar to Spider-Man, holding a knife in both hands, and he looked like a warrior who had experienced many battles. Just as Dr. Octopus was sighing that Chen Yi's partner was so reliable, the hero who had just walked out of the magic circle suddenly broke the solemnity. He said to Chen Ye with a proud face, Cool, Chen Ye, this is how I appear. This guy summoned by Chen Ye showed his unique personality and charm as soon as he appeared. However, the next second, Deadpool became even more outrageous. He asked Chen Ye seriously, also, why do you have to summon me? I'm looking for my true love recently. I know that I am more important than Wanda in your mind. You miss me, right? As he said, he also shook Chen Yi's shoulders, as if to confirm Chen Yi's inner thoughts. Dr. Octopus on the side watched this scene, hesitant to speak. He was full of curiosity about this hero who suddenly appeared. He was not sure whether this seemingly unreliable hero could really protect him. Chen Ye slapped Deadpool's hand away from his shoulder speechlessly, and then introduced Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus, you can call him Deadpool, he is the guy who will protect you tomorrow. Although he seems unreliable, no one can hurt you from him. Deadpool noticed Dr. Octopus this time, and Deadpool first looked at Dr. Octopus up and down. Then he patted his chest and assured, Yes, I will protect you, you are from a parallel universe. There is nothing special, I thought you would look like an alien. Although his words were a bit frivolous, the seriousness and determination in his eyes could not be ignored. Dr. Octopus looked at him, and couldn't help but feel a sense of inexplicable trust in his heart. Perhaps, this seemingly unreliable hero can really protect himself. Deadpool didn't care about Dr. Octopus's reaction. He put his arm around Dr. Octopus's shoulders and began to ask about his past. He wanted to know what kind of story this person from a parallel universe had experienced and why he appeared here. Dr. Octopus didn't resist. He began to tell his own experience. Those pains, joys, setbacks and successes were intertwined to form a colorful life. During the conversation between the two, Chen Ye quietly walked out of the room. He didn't disturb them because he knew that Deadpool at this moment was the real Deadpool. He was a trustworthy partner and guardian. And Dr. Octopus also needed to relax himself and open his heart in such an atmosphere. So summoning Deadpool was the right choice for Chen Ye. Chen Ye stood at the end of the corridor, looking at the night sky outside the window. He knew that tomorrow would be a new day full of challenges and opportunities. On the other side, Peter, who had just woken up, was looking at the mirror in front of him with a puzzled look. He found that his eyesight had recovered and he no longer needed to wear the thick black-framed glasses. He also had 8 abdominal muscles. He began to pose constantly to admire his new body. "Peter, are you okay? Have you changed?" Aunt May asked Peter outside the door. Peter looked at himself and nodded, then responded loudly, "Yes, there are big changes." Aunt May heard Peter's answer and quickly reminded, "Hurry up, you're going to be late." Then Peter looked at the window next door. Mary smiled foolishly. Looking at his new self, Peter felt that he was finally qualified to pursue her. His eyes flashed with determination, and his face was filled with unprecedented confidence and expectation. Then he went out to class. Just when Peter wanted to go up to talk to Mary, he found that Mary was picked up by a classmate who had a car. Then Peter hit the wall. Peter looked at the hole in the wall that he had hit in disbelief, and then looked at his hand. Before Peter knew whether it was his own problem, Peter missed the school bus again. Soon noon passed. Peter did not attend the class properly in the morning. He was studying the strange changes in his body. Even Harry did not come to class today. In the cafeteria, Peter was eating while watching his goddess Mary walk by him. Mary seemed to be immersed in the sadness of losing her boyfriend. She did not notice the water stains under her feet and accidentally slipped. Peter quickly hugged Mary and held up the lunch that should have fallen with a tray. "Wow, what a quick reaction. Thank you." Mary was hugged by Peter and looked at Peter in amazement. Peter looked at Mary who had regained her smile and said, "You're welcome." Their eyes met, and Mary looked at Peter's eyes with admiration and praised, "You have a pair of beautiful blue eyes. I didn't notice it when you were wearing glasses before." Then Mary left. Peter was left with a silly smile on his face. Peter was very happy. This was the first time Mary praised him. This was a good start. Just as Peter was enjoying the food, he suddenly felt an unusual sticky feeling. He looked down and was surprised to find that his hand was stuck to the fork. What was even more unbelievable was that strands of spider silk as thin as hair shot out from his palm. Peter's heart suddenly tightened, and he looked around in a hurry, fearing that this scene would be seen by other classmates and become the object of their ridicule. Peter hurriedly put down the fork in his hand and stood up nervously. He didn't dare to stay for a moment, and turned around and ran towards the exit of the cafeteria. His heartbeat accelerated, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. His mind was filled with fear of the unknown, and at the same time, he was also filled with confusion and puzzlement about his new abilities. Peter ran out of the school in one breath and came to a remote alley. He leaned against the wall, panting, trying to calm himself down. He looked at his hands, his heart full of panic and confusion. He didn't know why he suddenly had such an ability, nor did he know how to deal with it. Just when Peter felt helpless and confused, a voice suddenly sounded in his ears, "Why, are you afraid of your new ability?" Peter turned his head suddenly and looked around vigilantly. "I saw a figure slowly walking out from the depths of the alley." When Peter saw this figure, his heart trembled violently. He couldn't believe his eyes, because this figure was exactly the same as the Kamen Rider he had seen on TV. He was wearing a black cloak and the iconic blue and white mask on his face. Peter was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He pointed at the figure tremblingly and stammered, You are Kamen Rider." His voice was full of surprise and disbelief. Chapter 77. The night that Peter Parker saw was Chen Ye. Chen Ye did not expect to see the panicked Peter as soon as he went out today. Chen Ye looked at Peter Parker's eyes and understood that he had not yet adapted to the sudden spider ability. This kind of power is both a gift and a challenge for Peter. Chen Ye decided to give this future superhero some necessary care and guidance as a senior. In Chen Yi's eyes, if the plot of the movie develops, Peter may appear powerless when facing an enemy like Dr. Octopus, and may even fail directly. And now, they are facing more than one Dr. Octopus. This situation makes Chen Ye feel that it is necessary to come forward in person to help Peter better master and use his abilities. Peter looked at the Kamen Rider in front of him, his heart was full of excitement. He has always regarded Kamen Rider as his idol. Now, he can actually get close to this hero, which makes him feel extremely surprised. He looked at the blue and white armor, his heart was full of awe and envy, he almost couldn't help but want to reach out and touch it. "Excuse me, can I take a photo with you?" Peter asked with excitement in his eyes. For him, this is not just a simple photo, but also a manifestation of his admiration and yearning for the hero. However, Peter noticed that the Kamen Rider in front of him did not respond to him immediately, but looked at him with a deep and silent look. Peter began to feel uneasy in his heart, he felt that something seemed to be wrong. Chen Ye looked at Peter who wanted to escape in front of him, stretched out his right hand, and a golden halo suddenly appeared behind Peter. Chen Ye planned to use the portal to take Peter to a deserted place to beat him up. After all, there are many people here, and Chen Ye can't show it. Then Chen Ye flashed in front of Peter and kicked Peter into the portal. Peter had never expected such a change, and he could only be kicked into the portal passively. When Peter fell out of the portal, he looked around and found himself in a deserted place with only an endless plain. Peter's heart was full of confusion and fear. He didn't know where this place was, nor did he know what the Kamen Rider wanted to do to him. As if seeing Peter's doubts, Chen Ye slowly said, "Want to be a hero? Then let me see your awareness." Then Chen Ye, who transformed into Kamen Rider Eternal, began to attack Peter. After all, Peter just had spider sense, which gave him a sharp reaction speed and intuition like a spider. But Peter can't fully control this ability at present, and he can barely react in the first few times. But as Chen Yi's attack became faster and faster, Peter seemed to be in a hurry under his attack, sometimes dodging awkwardly, and sometimes being hit hard. Although he tried his best to resist, he was still beaten by Chen Yi's attack and vomited blood repeatedly. Peter was beaten by Chen Yi's attack and vomited blood. Chen Ye looked down at Peter and said coldly, "That's all you have? I've seen people with the same abilities as you, and they are not so weak." His words hurt Peter's self-esteem like a needle. "Even if you have superpowers, you are still a waste. Just continue to be bullied by others." Chen Ye kept stimulating Peter with words, trying to arouse his will. Peter, who fell to the ground, felt very aggrieved. He was inexplicably pulled in and beaten. Then he was often bullied by others, and he was still bullied by others after gaining superpowers. Every day, he endured the ridicule and bullying of others, as if his existence was to be the object of others' entertainment. Peter had had enough of this kind of life. His eyes were full of anger. He clenched his fists and clenched his teeth tightly, as if he was going to use all his strength to resist this helpless feeling. He tried to support his tired body and stood up. He stared at Chen Ye in front of him and shouted loudly, "I don't want to be bullied anymore. I want to be a superhero admired by everyone." His voice was full of firmness and determination. Then Chen Ye rushed over with a punch. However, his attack seemed chaotic and there was no method at all. Chen Ye easily dodged his attack and said, "It's useless to be a superhero just by talking. You must make good use of your spider sense." Then Chen Ye kicked Peter several meters away. Peter fell heavily to the ground, but he did not give up. Chen Yi's words made Peter sober instantly. He realized that to become a real superhero, it was not enough to rely on anger and determination alone. He must make good use of his spider sense to defeat the enemy in front of him. So, Peter began to work hard to adjust his state, trying to integrate spider sense into his attack. He closed his eyes, felt the movement around him, and tried to capture every subtle sound and breath. In his perception, Chen Yi's movements became slow and clear, as if the whole world slowed down. Chen Ye looked at Peter's figure who kept trying and working hard, and a hint of appreciation flashed in his eyes. So, Chen Ye stepped up. He increased the intensity of his attacks, trying to make Peter better adapt to the battle. While attacking, he taught Peter how to better use spider sense and spider silk. He told Peter that to become a true superhero, he must not only have great strength and speed, but also be good at using his skills and wisdom. Peter continued to work hard under Chen Yi's guidance, his attacks became more and more accurate, and his reaction speed became faster and faster. He began to be able to flexibly use his spider silk, wrapping it around Chen Yi's body to restrict his movements. His attacks also became more swift and powerful, and he saw that he had fought back and forth with the Kamen Rider in front of him. Peter suddenly became excited and thought he could defeat the Kamen Rider in front of him, and shouted loudly, "It's my turn." Then he attacked Chen Yi. Chen Yi sneered, "I'll teach you one more thing. Never underestimate the enemy, and don't overestimate your abilities." His words were full of sarcasm and contempt, as if telling Peter that he still had a long way to go. Then Chen Yi pressed the USB drive on his belt. Eternal Maximum Drive. Go, enjoy the fun of hell, I hope you can survive this blow. Chen Yi's right foot began to gather blue flame energy, and he jumped into the air like a blue lightning. Then, he fell rapidly and kicked towards Peter. Peter looked at this scene, his heart filled with fear. He knew that he could no longer avoid this blow, and could only bite the bullet to meet it. Chapter 78. The two of them were beaten. Okay, I've reduced the intensity a lot. I'm just teaching you a lesson. Remember, don't overestimate yourself next time. The enemy won't show mercy. Chen Yi slowly spoke to Peter, who was lying on the ground, his cloak fluttering in the wind. Peter lay on the ground, his eyes full of surprise and confusion. Peter recalled the scene just now, and he still had lingering fears in his heart. The moment he saw Chen Yi use the night kick on him, a revolving lantern had appeared in his heart. He thought his life was about to end, but he didn't expect that Chen Yi's night kick didn't cause him fatal damage. He looked up at the Kamen Rider, his eyes full of awe and gratitude. He knew that this time he overestimated his own strength, which led to such a fate. He also understood that this lesson was to make him realize his shortcomings so that he could be more cautious and rational in future battles. Thank you, may I ask who you are and why you want to teach me these things? Peter got up from the ground and bowed deeply to the Kamen Rider. I know I was wrong. I will remember this lesson and will not make the same mistake again. Peter was really curious about who was under the mask, who would teach him so hard and control such a powerful force. Could it be Uncle Ben under the mask? Uncle Ben is so old. Could it be Harry? Peter is more and more likely. Only Harry's family has the ability to create such a high-tech knight. Chen Yi looked at Peter, and a glimmer of satisfaction flashed in his eyes. He knew that Peter had understood his intention. He hoped that Peter could learn from this experience and become more mature and stable. I'm just a Kamen Rider passing by. I will come to you again. After Chen Yi finished speaking, he walked into the portal. Chen Yi turned around and looked at Peter, who was still standing there stupidly, and reminded him, why don't you come over? Are you going to stay there forever? Peter woke up as if from a dream, and quickly ran to the portal and quickly ran into the golden light circle. This time he looked at the light circle carefully. But he didn't see any doorway, after all, he just went through this door and returned to the place just now. When Peter wanted to ask Kamen Rider, he turned around and found that Kamen Rider had disappeared. Although Peter couldn't help but feel a little disappointed, he was soon attracted by his newly acquired spider ability, and all his low mood disappeared. In the evening, Peter, who was still immersed in joy, happened to see the goddess Mary next door standing at the door. He had a thought in his heart, and wanted to go over and talk to Mary. Peter had become much more confident after obtaining the spider ability. If it was before, he didn't dare to talk to Mary, and only dared to watch from afar. However, just when Peter was about to walk over, Mary was called over by her new boyfriend. Peter felt mixed emotions as he watched Mary and her new boyfriend walk towards the brand new car. The joy of the superpowers he had just obtained was also dispersed by the scene before his eyes. He thought that with superpowers, he could impress Mary and pursue Mary. But now this scene made Peter understand a truth. In this world, only by becoming rich can you be useful, and only with money can Mary look at you in the right eye. Thinking of this, Peter clenched his fists, and his eyes showed a desire for money. He decided to go back and study how to make money with his superpowers, and he also wanted to buy a car. Peter could only watch his goddess Mary drive away in someone else's new car. After returning home, Peter immediately took out the newspaper and began to screen the vehicles he could buy. His eyes quickly scanned every line and every word from top to bottom, as if he was looking for his dream. The first thing that caught his eye was a Bentley worth $30,000. Peter shook his head gently. The price was too expensive for him and he couldn't afford it. He sighed and continued to look down. Then, a Porsche worth $25,000 came into his sight. Peter frowned. He didn't like the style of Porsche very much. Peter continued to turn the page. The price was 15,000. It was better to save the money for Uncle Ben and Aunt May to subsidize the family. Buying a car was still too extravagant. Peter continued to look down. Just when he was about to lose his patience, he finally saw hope. On the last page, the convertible sports car, which cost only $2,598, attracted his attention. Peter's eyes lit up instantly, and he felt a strong impulse. This is the car he wanted. Peter said that the price didn't matter, the most important thing was that the convertible was attractive, so he decided to choose it. He began to think about how to raise the money. Just as he was thinking hard, a news advertisement caught his attention. The advertisement said that as long as you can last 3 minutes in a professional wrestling match, you will have a chance to win a bonus of $3,000. Peter's eyes lit up immediately, and he saw hope. He thought of Mary. If he could win this game, he could buy the convertible sports car. Mary would definitely look at him with new eyes, and might even throw herself into his arms. This idea gave Peter full of motivation, and he decided to participate in this game. For a time, Peter was full of motivation and began to design his outfit overnight. He imagined a beautiful life with Mary in his mind, and imagined the scene of them driving the convertible sports car on the street together. This beautiful vision filled him with strength, and he was determined to win the game. In this way, Peter spent a long night in fantasy and hard work. The next day, Peter was ready to leave the house happily. Uncle Ben suggested to see Peter off, but Peter refused because he didn't want to trouble Uncle Ben. But Uncle Ben also got dressed and insisted on seeing Peter off. "I just want to go out for some fresh air, let's go together." The tone sounded so good that Peter couldn't refuse. Soon Uncle Ben and Peter arrived at the destination. Peter obviously wanted to go to the game quickly, so he picked up his school bag and prepared to leave. "Thank you, Uncle Ben, I'll go first," Peter said to Uncle Ben. "Wait a minute, we have to talk," Uncle Ben said with a slightly heavy tone. "Can we talk later?" Peter tried to postpone the conversation, but Uncle Ben shook his head firmly. "If you want, we can talk now." Uncle Ben's tone revealed an unquestionable firmness that Peter couldn't refuse. Peter sighed helplessly, knowing that he could not escape this conversation. He rolled his eyes and said impatiently, "Is there anything that needs to be said now?" Uncle Ben looked at Peter, with a trace of worry in his eyes. He said seriously, "Yes, it must be said now. We haven't talked for a long time." Peter frowned, he didn't understand why Uncle Ben wanted to talk about this at this time. He felt that he had done nothing wrong. "You don't do housework every day now, and you stay in your room and do your own things when you get home. You are changing, I understand, at your age, I am the same as you." Peter wanted to refute, he felt that Uncle Ben did not understand him. However, Uncle Ben did not give him a chance, he continued, "Peter, your transformation in these few years will determine who you will become in the future, be careful not to go astray. Remember, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility." Uncle Ben pointed to Peter's heart and said. Peter couldn't help feeling uncomfortable when he heard this. He felt that Uncle Ben was interfering in his life and trying to control his future. He glared at Uncle Ben and said unhappily, "Do you think I will become a bad person? Don't worry, things are different now, I can solve it. Don't lecture me, okay?" After that, Peter opened the car door heavily. He did not look back, nor did he see the deep worry and helplessness in Uncle Ben's eyes. Peter did not know that if nothing unexpected happened, this would be the last time he heard Uncle Ben's teachings. Chapter 79. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Peter, who was full of desire for money and Mary, ignored Uncle Ben's advice and only wanted to go to the wrestling match. His thoughts were like leaves in the wind, drifting and difficult to stay. When he stepped into the noisy arena, he was shocked by the tens of thousands of spectators and the performances of the passionate professional wrestlers on the stage. Their cheers, applause, and the fierce confrontation between the wrestlers were like electric currents, impacting Peter's nerves. He seemed to see himself standing on the stage, hearing the cheers of the audience, and feeling the joy of victory. Uncle Ben's advice had long been thrown behind his head. However, just when he was about to make up his mind to sign up for the competition, a familiar voice sounded in his ears, "Is this really a good idea? Have you forgotten all the advice Uncle Ben gave you?" Peter's heartbeat accelerated instantly, and he looked around, trying to find the source of the voice. Finally, he found the source of the voice, a figure that he was very familiar with, his old classmate Chen Yat. He stood in the shadow of the corridor, with a smile on his face, but his eyes revealed an indescribable depth. Peter's vigilance and doubts intertwined on his face, and he looked at Chen Yat, his heart full of confusion. He couldn't understand why Chen Yat was here, and why he knew about his conversation with Uncle Ben. Why are you here? Peter's voice was a little nervous. Could it be that this Chen Yat is a stalker? Peter's heart was full of vigilance, and he began to wonder if his whereabouts had been mastered by Chen Yat. Chen Yat looked at the vigilant Peter and said with a smile, I just happened to come over and saw your uncle chatting with you in the car. It seems that you two are not chatting happily, so I guessed that he was lecturing you. After listening to Chen Yi's explanation, Peter's tense nerves relaxed a little. It turned out that he misunderstood Chen Yat. The other party just happened to pass by and did not follow him. Peter felt a little embarrassed. He originally thought that Chen Yat was a perverted stalker and almost made a joke. Why, you seem to be very interested in this game, are you going to participate by yourself? Chen Yat looked at Peter with a hint of teasing in his eyes. Peter waved his hand quickly, No, I just came to take a look. I am still very interested in wrestling. Peter did not intend to reveal his intentions, for fear that Chen Yat would complain to Uncle Ben. After all, if Uncle Ben knew that he was secretly participating in the competition, he would probably be opposed and stopped. Then how about watching it together? Chen Yat made an invitation. Chen Yat knew that Peter was going to participate in the competition, but he just wanted to tease Peter. No, take your time, I'm going to the bathroom first. Peter rejected Chen Yi's invitation. If he followed this guy to watch the game, Peter would not have the opportunity to participate in the game. This way, he could not earn 3,000 yuan to buy a car and pick up girls, so after Peter refused, he wanted to leave directly. Looking at Peter's back as he hurried away, Chen Yat smiled mysteriously. He knew what choice Peter would make, but he did not say it out loud. He just left a piece of advice, no matter what choice you make today, you must think clearly, otherwise you will regret it. Peter frowned at Chen Yat, as if he didn't understand the purpose of Chen Yi's words at all. Did he know that I was going to participate in the game? Peter shook his head, and regardless of this inexplicable Chen Yat, he quickly went to the bathroom to change his clothes and sign up for the game. When he came to the registration office, the lady in charge of registration looked at his thin figure and the strange costume and frowned. She repeatedly confirmed whether Peter really wanted to participate in the competition, because in her eyes, Peter looked more like a clown who came to join in the fun than a real wrestler. However, Peter's determination was not shaken by her doubts. He nodded firmly and handed in his registration form. After a lot of trouble, it was finally Peter's turn. The host took the list and looked at the name of the next person to appear, Human Spider, and he frowned slightly. This name seemed too ordinary and unattractive in his eyes. So he changed the name on his own initiative. Next, please welcome our new challenger, the dreaded Spider-Man. The host said passionately on the scene. Introduced. However, the audience had no hope when they saw Peter's thin body, thinking that this kid could not last more than a minute, which was simply a waste of time. So there was a lot of booing at the scene, as if they were laughing at Peter for overestimating his ability. The game started, and Peter showed all the skills that Chen Yat had trained him with yesterday. His movements were swift and accurate, and every attack caught his opponent off guard. He cleverly dodged his opponent's attacks, and then took the opportunity to launch a counterattack. He easily solved the professional wrestler. The audience was stunned by Peter's performance. They couldn't believe that this thin body could burst out with such powerful power. They began to cheer for Peter, and their applause and cheers filled the entire arena. Peter stood on the field, feeling the joy of victory. He knew that all this was because he was trained by Kamen Rider yesterday. Although the training at that time made him miserable, all the efforts were worth it. Peter's face was full of smiles. He would soon get $3,000 to buy a car and go to marry. Why only $100? This is different from the agreed $3,000. Peter looked at the boss who was giving out bonuses with a puzzled look on his face. The boss obviously didn't take Peter seriously. Stupid, look carefully for yourself. 3 minutes and $3,000. You only worked for 2 minutes. It's good to have money. His words were full of indifference and ruthlessness, and he seemed to not care about Peter's feelings at all. Peter felt angry and helpless. He knew that he was deceived by his boss. He urgently needed the money, but now he could only watch the boss take away the fruits of his labor. He tried his best to suppress his anger and begged the boss to give him more money. But the boss ignored him and just stared into his eyes and said, "This is none of my business." His words were like a knife, piercing Peter's heart fiercely. Peter knew that he was deceived, and he could only turn around and leave. When he left, a robber happened to pass by him. While Peter was waiting for the elevator, he subconsciously looked inside the room. The room was in chaos, and it was obvious that a fierce robbery had taken place. He saw the boss being knocked to the ground by the robbers and his wallet was taken away. Although Peter was a little shocked, he felt more of a complicated emotion. He had just been deceived by his boss, and seeing his boss being robbed, he actually felt a sense of inexplicable pleasure in his heart. So when the boss asked him to stop the robber, Peter ignored it and just watched the robber get off the elevator. When the boss covered his head and questioned Peter, "Why didn't you stop him and let him escape now?" Peter used the words the boss had said to him, "This is none of my business." Then the boss could only stare at Peter with an indignant look. Peter looked at the boss's appearance and secretly cursed in his heart that he deserved it. What he didn't know was that it was because of his decision that he almost lost his uncle. Chapter 80. The police officer stopped him. Just when Peter was about to go back to the place where he had been in the morning to wait for Uncle Ben, he found a large crowd of people watching in front of him, and Peter walked forward curiously. Peter felt uneasy, and then he walked forward quickly and pushed away the crowd. He walked to the first row and was stopped by the police officer. Peter looked closely and roared, "That's my uncle." Then he broke free from the police's hands and knelt on the ground to check Uncle Ben's body. Peter turned his head and asked the police in a crying voice, "What is going on?" Peter couldn't understand why his Uncle Ben was lying here. The police calmly replied, "He was shot by the carjacker. We have called an ambulance and they are on the way." Peter's eyes widened after hearing this, and he couldn't believe that his dear uncle would be robbed. "Uncle Ben, Uncle Ben!" Peter cried and called Uncle Ben's name, trying to wake him up. The next second, Peter found that he and Uncle Ben were no longer on the street, but in a room, and Uncle Ben was lying on the bed. Everything in the room seemed so strange, which made Peter panic. He looked around, trying to find a trace of familiarity, but it was all in vain. "So, didn't I tell you to think about your decision carefully?" A steady voice sounded in Peter's ears. He turned around and saw Chen Ye standing at the door of the room with an indescribable expression on his face. Peter's anger broke out instantly, and he stood up and punched Chen Ye. He asked, "What did you do to Uncle Ben? Who are you? What do you want to do?" Every question he asked was full of tension and anxiety, and he was eager to know the answer. Peter didn't care why he was here. The first thing he cared about was whether Uncle Ben was alive or dead. That was Chen Ye, who easily dodged Peter's angry punch with an elusive smile on his face. He spoke slowly, with an irresistible force in his voice, "Are you sure you want to hit me? No one can save your Uncle Ben except me. As for where this is of course where I live." Chen Ye would not tell Peter that in order not to attract attention, he carried them back one by one with fast movement, which somewhat affected his style. Chen Ye vowed to learn the mirror space next time. After hearing what Chen Ye said, Peter knelt on the ground and cried and begged Chen Ye, "Yes, you must have a way to save my Uncle Ben, right? I'm sorry, please save him. As long as you save him, I can do anything you want me to do." Peter believed that Chen Ye in front of him had the ability to bring him to this place without anyone noticing, and maybe he also had some kind of superpower, and maybe he could save Uncle Ben. Chen Ye looked at Uncle Ben lying on the bed and slowly said to Peter, "You know, Uncle Ben could have survived if you had stopped the robber from getting off the elevator. This tragedy would not have happened." After hearing what Chen Ye said, Peter seemed to be struck by lightning and stayed there. He couldn't believe that his negligence had caused such a consequence. He covered his heart with his hand, and it felt as if it was torn apart. Then, Peter's tears fell like beads from a broken string, and he kept kowtowing, his voice filled with endless pleading, "Please, Chen Ye, save my uncle. I know I made a mistake, and I am willing to bear all the consequences as long as you can save him." Peter's heart was filled with guilt and pain. He knew that it was because of his negligence that Uncle Ben was shot. And now, his most urgent wish is to let Chen Ye help him. In his eyes, Chen Ye seemed to be the only life-saving straw. Chen Ye looked at Peter crying bitterly, but there was no pity in his eyes. He spoke coldly, with a hint of indifference in his voice, "Isn't it better without Uncle Ben? No one will nag you anymore, and you can do what you want to do. Peter listened to Chen Yi's words, and his heart was like being cut by a knife. He kept kowtowing, and tears and sweat intertwined together, forming a bleak picture. He begged with all his might, "No, I need Uncle Ben, I can't live without him. I know I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Chen Yi, I beg you, please save him." However, Chen Yi remained indifferent. He glanced at Peter indifferently, then he said coldly, "People always learn to cherish after losing something. This is none of my business." After saying that, he turned and left the room, leaving Peter kneeling on the ground alone, crying helplessly. After closing the door, Chen Yi smiled, and then threw the horse charm to Deadpool who had been eavesdropping. After all, Chen Yi has this ability, and he doesn't want to see Uncle Ben, a good man, die in front of him. The Uncle Bens in the multiverse are almost dead. Chen Yi is really unconvinced and wants to save one to see. Does it have to sacrifice Uncle Ben alone for Peter to awaken? Chen Yi thinks the answer is no. So Chen Yi used the horse charm on Uncle Ben as soon as he saw Uncle Ben. As for why he didn't use the magic beans, it was because Chen Yi only had 2 left now, so of course he had to use them sparingly. As for why he didn't tell Peter, on the one hand, it was because Chen Yi wanted to teach Peter a profound lesson. On the other hand, Uncle Ben, who had just recovered, was also resting, so let this guy embarrass himself in front of Uncle Ben. Deadpool had been leaning against the wall listening and whispered, "This kid is crying so miserably, Chen Yi. I really want to go in and take some photos of him." Peter looked at Uncle Ben lying on the bed in despair, his heart full of regret and self-blame. He remembered the familiar words, "This is none of my business." It was because of this sentence that he let the robber go, which indirectly led to Uncle Ben's injury. "I'm sorry, Uncle Ben," Peter said, grabbing Uncle Ben's hand with great regret. Just as Peter was immersed in deep sadness, an old and familiar voice suddenly sounded in his ears, "Peter, I'm fine, don't cry." Peter was stunned. He thought it was his hallucination. He looked up and saw that Uncle Ben, who should have been lying there and left quietly, slowly opened his eyes. Peter's eyes were full of surprise and joy. "Uncle Ben, are you okay?" He almost couldn't believe his eyes. He thought he had lost Uncle Ben, but now Uncle Ben was in front of him. Although his face was pale, he was indeed alive. Uncle Ben smiled and shook his head, "I don't know, it seems that someone rescued him." Although his voice was weak, it was full of gratitude and relief. He himself thought that he would die this time, but he didn't expect that he could wake up. Peter was relieved when he heard this, and the big stone in his heart finally fell. Peter turned his head and looked outside the door, as if he saw Chen Yi's figure. His heart was full of gratitude, but also full of doubts. He wanted to know how Chen Yi saved his uncle. What kind of person is he? Uncle Ben seemed to know what Peter was going to do, and said slowly, "Go, kid. Thank him for me." Peter nodded. He knew that he needed to find Chen Yi, thank him and answer the doubts in his heart. End of the chapter. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.